Chapter 1247. The one who spoke was a good-looking young man. As he spoke, he lowered his head and fastened his life jacket. While fastening the life jacket, the young man couldn't stop bragging. Back then, my uncle was a famous yachting expert. He even participated in some yachting competition. He even won the first prize. As he spoke, the young man paused and bragged even more. When I was 16, I went to stay at my uncle's house for a period of time during summer vacation. At that time, my uncle even taught me how to drive a yacht. The operation was quite simple. After learning for a day, I could drive a yacht on my own. The young man's bragging tone was very unpleasant. It was very obvious that Lin Huai and the others who were with the young man had heard him bragging more than once. The young man's ultimate goal in bragging was to see the astonishment and shock on Yun Jian and Si Yi's faces. It was just like bragging, and then seeing the astonishment and shock on Yun Jian and Si Yi's faces was to fuel the young man's vanity. The young man didn't have any other intentions. He just wanted to see the astonishment and shock on their faces when they found out about his strength. Unfortunately, he didn't see any astonishment or shock on Yun Jian and Si Yi's faces. On the contrary, Yun Jian and Si Yi's expressions were very normal. The young man, on the other hand, paused his hand that was still fastening his life jacket. He was a little surprised that they were not as shocked as he had expected when they heard how awesome he was. Yun Jian and Si Yi had already skillfully put on their life jackets. In just a few seconds, they had fastened their life jackets. Even Master Hang was stunned by Yun Jian and Si Yi's skillful movements, let alone the people around them. Ahem. Let's get on the boat after fastening your life jackets. In order to ease the awkward atmosphere, Master Hang deliberately pulled on the rope tied to the bow of the boat. The young man smiled awkwardly and helped the others put on their life jackets. Yun Jian and Si Yi were the first to get on the boat. By the time Lin Huai and the young man got on the boat, Yun Jian and Si Yi were already sitting on the side of the boat. When the other young people got on the boat, another boy beside the young man who had been bragging said, "Yushu, you said you learned how to drive a yacht during the summer vacation. I'll have to trouble Master Hang to drive it for you later." The young man who had been bragging in front of everyone was called Xiong Yushu. Xiong Yushu wanted to prove his ability from the beginning. Now that the other boy who came with him started cooperating, Xiong Yushu immediately said, "Hey, I didn't. I've learned how to drive a yacht, but mine's uncle's way. Xiong Yushu, Yushu's and the boats and the boat, the boat, the boat, and the boat, the boat, the boat, the boat, the boat, the boat, the boats, the boat island was very big. It was impossible to walk the entire boat island in a day's time. Therefore, it was not a bad choice to spend a few dozen yuan to take a boat around the boat island." Sitting beside Si Yi, Yun Jian enjoyed the thrill of being on the yacht and sailing at high speed on the sea with her eyes closed. At this moment, they had already sailed half a lap around the boat island. At this moment, Master Hang, who was sailing, suddenly clutched his chest. In the next second, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. The hand that was holding the steering wheel suddenly loosened. Chapter 1248. Lin Huai was the first to notice that Master Hang had fainted. Originally, Yun Jian and Si Yi were on their backs while the others were on their backs. After Master Hang fell to the ground, Lin Huai immediately screamed when she noticed. Yun Jian and Si Yi had already noticed when Master Hang fell to the ground. As for the others, they also reacted after Lin Huai screamed. What happened to Master Hang? Why did he faint? That was the first thought that appeared in everyone's mind. Because this happened so suddenly, no one had time to react, so everyone was dumbfounded. Yacht. Who knows how to drive a yacht? Hurry up and send him to the beach. Well, Master Hang. One of the boys started shouting in panic. After all, they were already halfway around the island, and it would take at least 10 to 20 minutes to get back. Master Hang had suddenly fainted, and no one present knew what had happened. The best thing to do now was to quickly send him back to the beach where they first came out, and call for help. But the problem now was, who would drive the yacht after Master Hang fainted? Moreover, Master Hang had fainted, so no one dared to touch him. What if something happened to him again? What should they do? Who would take responsibility? Yushu, hurry up. Didn't you learn how to drive a yacht from your uncle? during the summer vacation? Hurry up and drive the yacht back to the beach. If this drags on, someone will die. The boy who helped Xiong Yushu brag earlier said to Xiong Yushu, because he had never encountered something like this before. When the boy spoke, his voice was hoarse and trembling. I don't know where to go. I'm not familiar with this place either. Xiong Yushu's boastful attitude was gone. He began to tremble, and even his footsteps were hesitant to drive the yacht. It was one thing to brag earlier, but now that it was a critical moment he was afraid. After all, when he drove the yacht he was alone. Now he had to carry so many people, and there was also a person who could die at any time. He was afraid. Yushu, what are you waiting for? You're the only one here who knows how to sail a yacht. If you don't help us, the boy urged again. It wasn't a good idea for the yacht to stay here forever. If it stayed here for too long, the yacht might sink. Everyone became more and more afraid. Not only were they worried about Master Hang, but they were also worried about their own safety. However, just as these people were so scared that they couldn't move, they didn't know what to do next. A clear female voice was heard. I'll drive the yacht. Just as he finished speaking, Yun Jian had already turned sideways and sat in the driver's seat of the yacht. Yun Jian's back was facing the crowd. She said to the panicked people standing behind her, he has a myocardial infarction. Try not to touch him. Yun Jian's words were not a question, but a statement. After saying that, she started the engine of the yacht under everyone's surprised and stunned expressions, and pushed the yacht to the maximum speed. How did you know he had a myocardial infarction? Did you study medicine? And you know how to drive a yacht? Lin Hui asked in surprise. Yun Jian didn't answer Lin Hui directly. Instead, she said to the crowd, hold tight. As soon as she finished speaking, Yun Jian released the clutch. Chapter 1249. Only the sound of wind blowing could be heard from the side of their ears. Everyone grasped the handle tightly, and they were all dumbfounded. Yun Jian's yacht was sailing at an extremely fast speed. Just this speed alone was enough to make everyone turn pale. If someone didn't hold on to the railing tightly, they would probably have been blown off by the wind. Her speed was simply unbelievably fast. Oh my God! This isn't something a newbie can operate. Even my uncle's speedboat isn't as fast as she is today. My uncle has been sailing a yacht for almost 20 years. Xiong Yushu was scared half to death. He quickly grabbed onto the railing tightly and spoke in a terrified tone. As soon as Xiong Yushu finished speaking, the young people standing around, including Lin Hui, all showed a horrified expression. Previously, Xiong Yushu had bragged about how amazing his uncle was. But now, this girl who had boarded the yacht with them and hadn't spoken much from the start actually had such advanced yacht driving skills? Even Xiong Yushu couldn't help but complain that his uncle, whom he admired the most, wasn't as fast as Yun Jian today. How amazing must she be to be able to force Xiong Yushu to say something like this? The sea breeze roared as Ce stood beside Yun Jian. He didn't do anything else. Even in this open-air yacht, he didn't reach out to hold on to the railing, and was able to stabilize his body. A journey that would normally take 10 to 20 minutes was forcibly shortened to 5 minutes by Yun Jian. Lin Hui, Xiong Yushu, and the rest were completely dumbfounded. Seeing such a situation, everyone present was stunned. It wasn't for anything else, but Yun Jian's frightening ability. She actually knows how to sail a yacht. How old is she? Just as they were thinking this, Yun Jian's low voice was heard. Hold on tight. After Yun Jian finished speaking, the few people on the yacht used both hands to hold onto the railing. In the next second, they felt Yun Jian driving the yacht towards the shore, where there was no water. We'll capsize like this. Lin Hui's face was pale with fright. She gripped the railing tightly and closed her eyes. Just like Lin Hui, the others didn't look any better. At this moment, all of them had their eyes tightly shut. They were so scared that their nerves were stretched taut. When everyone heard Yun Jian's words, they grabbed the railing of the yacht tightly. Bang! In the next second, the yacht suddenly rushed ashore. Because of the impact of the seawater, coupled with the strong inertia, it was very strong. Therefore, in the next moment, when the yacht hit the shore, it hit the shore hard before stopping steadily. Actually, the bumpiness of the yacht wasn't that bad. At least Master Hang, who was lying on the boat, did not sway at all. The yacht was docked steadily. Obviously, Master Hang was not driving the yacht alone. There were many friends of Master Hang around. When they saw Yun Jian driving the yacht back to the shore, several other friends and colleagues of Master Hang ran over barefoot. What's wrong? What's wrong? The group of people were noisy. When they saw Master Hang lying on the boat, they were so scared that their faces turned pale. For a moment, they didn't know what to do. A middle-aged uncle even reached out to pull Master Hang up from the ground and carry him to the hospital. At this moment, everyone saw the beautiful girl in front of them come out from the driver's seat. She calmly stopped the man's actions. "Don't touch him." The middle-aged uncle who was about to reach out his hand was stunned for a moment. He really didn't continue to reach out. Chapter 1250. The person who walked over did not care about anything else at all. He came over and criticized Yun Jian. He even looked unhurried. It did not look like he was doing it for Master Hang's sake. Instead, he looked like he was gloating. Moreover, this person walked over and looked at Yun Jian slowly. He looked like he could not wait to see something happen to Master Hang. Moreover, when he spoke to Yun Jian, this person's tone was very bad. However, this person deliberately said that it was for Master Hang's sake, causing the surrounding people to really think that Yun Jian was deliberately trying to harm Master Hang. Hence, the surrounding people started to criticize Yun Jian. "Young lady, what's wrong with you? Are you hoping that something happens to our Master Hang?" "That's right. Our Master Hang is such a good person. This young lady is actually so vicious. Come. Hurry up and carry Master Hang to the hospital for a checkup." Master Hang's colleagues began to criticize Yun Jian. Some people even said that Yun Jian was vicious. The words were spoken in a split second. Narrowing her eyes, Yun Jian's lips curled into a cold smirk. After sneering, Yun Jian continued, "He has a myocardial infarction. Call an ambulance immediately. You are not medical staff. After a myocardial infarction, if you are not rescued in time, the patient will often die within 2 hours. Don't move or help the patient walk. Otherwise, his condition will only worsen faster. If something happens, none of you can bear the responsibility." Yun Jian's cold words were quickly heard. Then, she successfully stopped the group of people who wanted to reach out to touch Master Hang. Yes, Yun Jian was right. If something happened while moving or helping the patient walk, no one could bear the responsibility. "I'll call the doctor." Someone quickly ran to the hospital near the beach. Fortunately, it was not far from the hospital. After the doctor returned and completed a series of safety measures, he finally sent Master Hang safely to the hospital. Only then did the doctor wave his hand to wipe off the cold sweat on his body. Seeing that the medical staff had already escorted Master Hang to his hospital, the doctor wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and said to everyone, "Phew, as long as he's sent to the hospital on time, there won't be any major problems. The patient's condition is very serious. Fortunately, you called us over and didn't reach out to help him or touch his body. Otherwise, he might have died on the spot." Even this doctor let out a soft sigh of relief, let alone the others. Especially the colleague of Master Hang, who had scolded Yun Jian with exaggerated words just now. Although that person was unreasonable, he didn't want Master Hang to die at all, nor did he dare to do so. After hearing the doctor's words, the man still looked at the doctor in disbelief as he asked in a trembling tone, Doctor, is it true that old Hang couldn't be moved just now?" It was obvious that this person did not know anything about medicine. The doctor glanced at this person and said, "That's right. In layman's terms, if you touch him, it's very likely that the patient who is in the middle of a myocardial infarction will die on the spot. In that case, the young lady really knows medicine." At this moment, someone looked at Yun Jian with a slightly surprised gaze. At this moment, everyone's gaze shifted to Yun Jian. When they saw that Yun Jian was only 16 or 17 years old and wasn't even an adult, everyone was shocked and frightened. Chapter 1251. Everyone was scared out of their wits. That was a human life. If it wasn't for Yun Jian, perhaps Master Hang would have already. At the thought of this, everyone shuddered violently. Without a doubt, What happened just now had a huge impact on everyone present. Even this group of old masters were scared half to death, not to mention Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the other youngsters. At this moment, the group of youngsters led by Lin Huai were all in a daze. Their expressions were no different from being petrified. Their entire bodies were frozen on the spot, unable to move. Young lady, it's all thanks to you just now. When the doctor found out that it was Yun Jian who stopped the masters from attacking Master Hang, saving him from the ordeal, he thanked Yun Jian on Master Hang's behalf. You don't have to thank me. It's just a small matter, Yun Jian said calmly. After that, she turned around and left with Ce. Hey, can the two of you wait? Xiong Yushu only caught up after Yun Jian, and Ce had walked quite a distance away. He looked at Ce, then looked at Yun Jian. Then, he said to Yun Jian in a worshipful tone, You're so good at driving a yacht. I don't have any other intentions. I just want to know where you learned it from. Where did you learn to drive a yacht so well? Whether it was Master Hang, Xiong Yushu, or Lin Huai, they were all just passers-by on a journey. Everyone had their own living space and world. As long as they returned to their own living space or world, they would never meet these passers-by again. If they were fated to meet a passerby on a journey, it wasn't impossible for them to help them. Yun Jian pursed her lips and smiled. Ce could feel that Xiong Yushu wasn't interested in Yun Jian. He only wanted to ask about Yun Jian's strength. Therefore, other than telling Yun Jian and Xiong Yushu not to get too close, he didn't stop them, and just stood quietly at the side. However, he saw Yun Jian curl her lips slightly and smile at Xiong Yushu. After a 2-second pause, Yun Jian spoke faintly and said in a joking tone, Self-taught, self-taught. After that, Yun Jian reached out and took Ce's hand. Then, she pulled Ce towards where Qin Yiru and the others were. Xiong Yushu stood where he was, watching Yun Jian's receding figure in a daze for a few seconds. After a while Xiong Yushu said, Isn't she a genius? This time, Xiong Yushu really. His uncle had been learning how to sail for 20 years, but he still couldn't beat a teenage girl. Of course, of course, of course. At that moment Xiong Yushu of Yun Jian of his mind. That was the worship of the strong. Yun Jian dragged Ce's hand back to the shallow sea area where Qin Yiru and Gujun Jian were. The shallow sea area by the sea was a sacred place for children to play. Because the sea was shallow, even if the children went into the water, the adults would watch from the side and not let the children fall into the water. It could be said that it was a safe and fun place. Yun Jian, who was dragging Ce's hand, walked back to the beach like a teenage girl. From afar, she saw Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya lying on the sand on the beach. They were holding plastic cups in one hand and squatting on the ground. Don't talk. Otherwise, the little crabs won't come out. Xiao Yunju was like a little adult as he took charge of the order. Duanli and Duanya also started to shush each other. Yun Jian dragged Ce over. Xiao Yunju raised his head and was about to say something when he saw Yun Jian dragging Ce over. Xiao Yunju had just found a little crab's hole. However, when he saw Yun Jian and Ce, he immediately stepped on the little crab's hole. The poor little crab's hole was blocked by Xiao Yunju. Xiao Yunju was already running over with Duanli and Duanya. At the same time he said coquettishly, Sister, brother Ce. Xiao Yunju tactfully rushed into Ce's arms. Duanli and Duanya, on the other hand, rushed into Yun Jian's arms. Yun Jian reached out to ruffle their hair. Seeing such a harmonious scene, her words softened. Did you have fun? Yes, yes. This is the first time I've been to the beach. Sister, we're all so happy. Duanli held Yun Jian's hand and said excitedly. Hee brother Ce, can you take us to eat ice cream? We're so thirsty. Xiao Yunju shook Ce's hand and said coquettishly. Okay. Ce immediately agreed. After informing Qin Yiru and Gujun Jian, Yun Jian and Ce each held Duanli and Duanya's hands and walked to a nearby ice cream shop. This ice cream shop was famous for being expensive, but it was also the only ice cream shop within a radius of 8 miles. When Yun Jian and Ce brought Xiao Yunju and the other two into the shop and sat down, suddenly, another group of people entered the shop. Yun Jian didn't look carefully. However, she heard someone suddenly shout at her. Hey, it's you guys. What a coincidence. Chapter 1252. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others didn't expect to meet Yun Jian and see Yi again at the ice cream shop. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others were shocked by Yun Jian's superb yachting skills and her proficient medical knowledge. Now they even treated Yun Jian as their idol. Xiong Yushu felt that he wanted to pretend to be amazing in front of Yun Jian and Ce, but he felt embarrassed when he thought about it now. But at this moment, the admiration in her heart was greater than the feeling of embarrassment. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others quickly walked over and stood in front of Yun Jian and Ce. Lin Huai put her hands behind her back and smiled at Yun Jian playfully. Then she said, "Are you here for ice cream too? Do you mind sharing a table?" Lin Huai said as she glanced at Xiao Yunju, Duanli and Duanya. "Wow, what a cute little brother and little sister." Lin Huai said as she squatted down to look at Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya. Okay. Yun Jian didn't refuse. This was because she saw that Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya seemed very curious when they saw Lin Huai and the others. It wasn't bad to let Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya see more people in the world. Then we won't stand on ceremony, haha. Lin Huai said as she took the lead and sat down. After chatting for a while, they found out that Lin Huai's family was in the north. Xiong Yushu, and the others all came from the north. Xiong Yushu's uncle was from the south. When Xiong Yushu was 16, he came to the south for a summer vacation and learned how to sail at his uncle's house. At this point, the ice cream that everyone had ordered was served. The ice cream in this shop was very big, but the price was very expensive. Obviously, since Lin Huai and the others came to the shop, it meant that their family background wasn't bad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come all the way from the north for a vacation. The ice cream here was eaten with a spoon. Once, she accidentally got some ice cream on the side of her mouth when she scooped it into her mouth with the spoon. Ce didn't say anything. When he saw it, he immediately reached out and gently wiped the ice cream off Yun Jian's mouth. This action warmed the hearts of Lin Huai and the others. Even Lin Huai couldn't help but say, "You two are so loving. And from the first time I saw the two of you, I felt that the two of you were very compatible, haha." Lin Huai just wanted to express her thoughts. She didn't mean anything else. When Yunju heard Lin Huai's words, he shook his head left and right before blinking his beady eyes at Lin Huai and said seriously, "I'm not sure if you'll be able to do anything to me. Sister and brother Ce often play kissing games, and they don't even let us watch. Our classmate Xiao Hui said that they were hiding from us and secretly making love." Xiao Yunju pursed his lips and said in a very innocent manner. The originally good atmosphere became extremely awkward after Xiao Yunju's words. Yun Jian's hand, which was eating ice cream just now, froze. She let go of the spoon in her hand that was scooping ice cream, and it fell to the ground. Xiao Yunju's words just now really made one's imagination run wild. Ahem. Yun Jian couldn't help but cough lightly to alleviate the awkwardness. Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju all ordered ice cream. Ce didn't order because he didn't like to eat these things. Seeing the spoon in Yun Jian's hand slip to the floor, due to Yunju's frightening words just now, Yun Jian was stunned. Ce reached out and caught the spoon without even looking. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others, who were sitting opposite Yun Jian and Ce, all gasped when they saw this. Just now, they thought that only Yun Jian was so amazing. In the end, this man didn't even look and directly caught the spoon that Yun Jian accidentally dropped. Just as everyone was stunned, they saw Ce use Yun Jian's spoon to scoop up a mouthful of ice cream and swallow it. With a smirk, he looked at Yun Jian from the side and uttered something that was even more misleading with a doting gaze. "This ice cream is very sweet and delicious." Chapter 1253. Ce's words were enough to cause misunderstandings. Yun Jian blushed slightly when she heard Ce's words. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others were also stunned. When they came back to their senses, their expressions changed slightly. However, most of them were a little embarrassed. At that moment, everyone felt that Ce's words were really embarrassing and full of possessiveness. Furthermore, he had said it so confidently as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that there was something going on between him and Yun Jian. But to be honest, just the fact that Yun Jian and Ce were so compatible was enough to make Lin Hui, Xiong Yushu, and the others envious. Yun Jian reached out and snatched the spoon back from Ce's hand. She didn't look down on the spoon that Ce had eaten, and her face was slightly red. "I'm not giving it to you." Yun Jian lowered her head and scooped another mouthful of ice cream. Her cheeks were slightly red as she spoke to Ce. When Ce heard this, he felt that she was acting coquettishly. Ce couldn't help but smile. Cough, cough, cough. Did you guys know that there will be a surfing competition at the beach later? Let's go and watch, shall we? Xiong Yushu stood up and said softly to ease the awkwardness. As he spoke, Xiong Yushu rubbed his mouth with his hand. Surfing? Little brother. Is surfing the kind where people stand on a wooden board and rush around in the sea? Xiao Yunju thought for a while and asked cleverly. When he heard Xiao Yunju's analogy, Xiong Yushu quickly nodded. Yes. I want to go. When Xiao Yunju heard this, he quickly ran over and shook Yun Jian's hand. Then he said coquettishly, Big sister, can you take us to watch the surfing? Our teacher talked about surfing in class before. I want to watch it. Since Xiao Yunju had spoken, Yun Jian naturally wouldn't disagree. She pursed her red lips and immediately agreed. Okay. Upon hearing that Yun Jian had agreed, Xiao Yunju and the other two were overjoyed. After finishing their ice cream, they set off for the beach. Xiao Yunju and the other two were no longer as mischievous as before. Perhaps it was because she had eaten a large bowl of ice cream. Since it was Xiong Yushu's suggestion, he led everyone to the beach where the surfing competition was going to take place. The beach here was not shallow, so Yun Jian and Ce held tightly onto Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya's hands, afraid that the three children would run away. There was a lot of traffic on this beach, because there was going to be a surfing competition. The beach, which was originally big enough for a person to run all over the place, was now so crowded that one could only walk slowly. Thus, Yun Jian had to hold on to Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya even more tightly. Xiong Yushu, who was leading the team, finally found an empty spot to watch the competition. He had just called Yun Jian and the others over when Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and saw a familiar face in the crowd. Yun Jian leaned against Ce and whispered to him, Mad Dragon is here. She had arranged to meet Mad Dragon on the boat island, and they had just set the location here. However, Yun Jian didn't expect it to be so crowded at first. Hey, you guys come and play. Lin Hui saw the lively scene and waved her hand to signal Yun Jian and Ce to bring Xiao Yunju and the other two over. However, Ce suddenly leaned over and whispered into Yun Jian's ear. Chapter 1254. Ce did not know if Lin Hui had turned around. Nor did he want to know. He did not want to know about other people's affairs. He only cared about his Xiao Jian. Ce lowered his head and pressed his lips softly to Yun Jian's earlobe, ignoring the curious gazes of the people around them. He spoke softly, speaking words that no one around them could hear. Everyone thought that Ce was saying something flirtatious to Yun Jian. In fact, Ce had only whispered to Yun Jian, Xiao Jian, do you want Mad Dragon to join the kosher mercenaries? It sounded like a question, but Ce had basically confirmed Yun Jian's plan. As expected, Yun Jian nodded softly after hearing Ce's question. She had only invited Mad Dragon to meet her on Zhoudao because of one thing. She wanted Mad Dragon to join the kosher mercenaries and expand the kosher mercenaries' capabilities. Although the kosher mercenaries' reputation was not to be underestimated internationally, the kosher mercenaries were still not strong enough. At least, that was what Yun Jian thought. A person and organization could not stay where they were forever. To achieve greater success, they had to take the big step bravely. Yun Jian was never satisfied with the status quo, because she knew that she was not good enough. There would always be someone better than her. She had to be the powerhouse who held up the entire mountain in order to protect the people she wanted to protect. Kosher mercenaries would never reject talents. What more an elite like Mad Dragon? It was true that Kuang Long's capability was not on par with Yun Jian's. In fact, they were miles apart. However, If Kuang Long was poached by other forces in the future, it would only be an additional enemy and danger to Gusha mercenaries. Therefore, Yun Jian planned to invite Mad Dragon to join the Kosha mercenaries. Stay here and accompany Xiao Zhu and the others. Have fun. I'll handle this. Ci had already straightened his body and looked up. He had one hand in his pocket as he spoke in his rich masculine voice. There were many people walking around, but no matter how beautiful Yun Jian and Ce were, no one would stop to watch them or eavesdrop on their conversation like they were monkeys. Therefore, Ce did not lower his voice when he said the latter part. You. Yun Jian looked up and pressed her lips together. She was surprised, but there was a faint warmth in her heart. Mad Dragon was now a member of the Enhun organization. Why was this so? It was because all the assassins and agents of the Enhun organization had worked for the organization. In her previous life, Yun Jian had also worked for the Enhun organization for a few years. When she became strong enough, she became the first person to leave the organization. However, Mad Dragon had not completely left Enhun organization. In fact, Enhun organization did not participate in these things. In Enhun organization, as long as you completed the mission, you could leave the organization. Moreover, Enhun organization had never stopped any capable assassins or agents from leaving their control. Yun Jian was the only agent who had completed all the missions given by Enhun organization and left Enhun organization. This was because none of the assassins and agents who wanted to leave Enhun organization to complete their missions lived to see the day they left. However, Yun Jian believed that Mad Dragon could do it. This was because Mad Dragon was strong enough. Yun Jian was touched because Mad Dragon was still a member of Enhun organization. Yun Jian only wanted Mad Dragon to reach an understanding with her and wait for Mad Dragon to leave Enhun organization before officially joining the Kosha mercenaries. However, Ce's words were, just as Yun Jian said the word you, Ce suddenly reached out and hugged her waist. There seemed to be light in his eyes. Under his handsome face, the corners of his lips were slightly raised. His eyes only reflected her. Other than that, there was nothing else. Chapter 1255. He could give up everything, even in Hun group. He only wanted her. He had never thought that he would meet a woman who he could give up his life for. A woman he wanted to hold in his arms and make her belong to him alone. Ce hated women to the core, to the point where he shuddered at the mere sight of them. He thought that he was destined to be alone and had never yearned for love, much less yearned for it. However, fate had brought him to meet his Xiao Jian. Once Ce loved someone, it was for life. It was impossible for him to let go. She was his woman, so he naturally had to hold her in the palm of his hand. Yun Jian blushed when she heard Ce's last sentence. Ce's words touched her to the core. If it were not for the crowd, she would have hugged him. Take Xiao Zhu and the other girls and wait for me here, Ce said as he rubbed Yun Jian's silky hair gently. Yun Jian did not reject him now as she nodded at Ce. Ce then turned to leave through the crowd. Xiao Yunju clapped and exclaimed, Wow! Ce! Gij touched Jij's hair like he's touching mine. Just as Xiao Yunju said that, Lin Hui peeked over again, only to see Ce leaving. Lin Hui was suspicious, but she still walked over to Yun Jian. Where's your boyfriend? Ha! I'll hold your brother's hand for you. Look after your two younger sisters. We'll stand here. The surfing competition is starting soon. Lin Hui asked nosily before going to Yun Jian with a grin. Lin Hui was only helping Yun Jian hold Xiao Yunju's hand out of kindness, preventing Xiao Yunju from being pushed or trampled in this crowded place. Thank you. Yun Jian thanked Lin Hui with a smile. Lin Hui was being kind after all. Haha, you're welcome. Lin Hui was flattered, scratching her head and saying nothing else. At the same time, someone at the beach announced the start of the competition through the microphone. Thank you to all the tourists who came to watch the competition. Due to the crowd, we hope that all of you can watch the competition from a safe place. Thank you. Let the competition begin. Not long after Ce left, the surfing competition was about to begin. Ce walked towards the center of the crowd with one hand in his pocket. His tall figure attracted a lot of attention as he walked towards the center of the crowd. Under everyone's gaze, CE walked to the center of the crowd. He reached out and grabbed the collar of a man who had his back facing him. Without even saying a word, he dragged the man by the collar to an empty corner. Mad Dragon was suddenly grabbed by the collar by CE. He didn't know that the person who grabbed his collar was CE, so he was furious. He was the god of war, Mad Dragon, ranked third on the International Secret Service rankings. How could he be dragged by the collar today after being defeated yesterday? Mad Dragon tried to break free, but he realized that his strength, which was enough to intimidate countless international masters, was useless in front of the person who grabbed him by the collar. CE dragged Mad Dragon to an empty beach before he threw Mad Dragon to the ground. Chapter 1256. It was the man who had been standing next to SS? Mad Dragon's expression changed drastically. Mad Dragon had met CE at the beach yesterday. Of course, that was because CE was standing next to Yun Jian. More importantly, the three leaders of Anhun were there as well. Therefore, Mad Dragon had suspected that CE was most likely the leader of Anhun. Mad Dragon did not know whether CE was the leader of Anhun or not. In Anhun, other than the four leaders, no one else had seen the leader of Anhun. Even Slaying God did not know that CE was the leader of Anhun. If CE had not admitted it, Yun Jian would not even know where to start investigating. No matter how good Yun Jian was, she would not be able to find out who the leader of Anhun was. Mad Dragon's expression changed drastically, but he did not lose his footing. It was undeniable that Mad Dragon was stronger than all of Yun Jian's opponents and teammates. And for a powerful person, being calm and unhurried after encountering a situation was the most basic. Mad Dragon could not confirm that CE was the leader of Anhun just by looking at the three leaders of the organization. After all, Anhun had existed for so many years. It was hard for him to believe that the leader of Anhun was a young man, who was about his age, or even 2 years younger than him. To be honest, it was not that Mad Dragon did not believe it, but he was slightly doubtful. Mad Dragon. Just as Mad Dragon was frowning and trying to guess CE's identity, CE's voice interrupted him. Mad Dragon frowned and looked at CE when his name was called. As a professional agent, Mad Dragon did not respond to CE. I'll give you 3 days. Anhun will let you go as long as you join the kosher mercenaries within 3 days. CE made his intentions clear. He never bothered to beat around the bush with people, because he didn't have the time to talk nonsense with people. Mad Dragon's eyes widened, and he was completely shocked by CE's words. CE's 3 simple sentences summed up a lot of things. For example, he had indirectly mentioned that he was the leader of Anhun. Other than the 4 leaders of Anhun, no one else could make the decision to release any of Anhun's secret agents or assassins, except for the leader of Anhun. Remember to voluntarily join the kosher mercenaries after leaving Anhun. Otherwise, you should know how Anhun deals with traitors. CE did not waste any more time and said simply. Mad Dragon gulped, and when he regained his senses, CE had already walked away. Just as he took 2 steps forward, CE suddenly thought of something and turned to the side. Even Mad Dragon, who was also a man, could not help but admit his inferiority when he looked at his flawless face. Remember, that's my woman. Don't stand within 3 meters of her when you see her in the future. Otherwise, you will become the number 1 person on Anhun's must-kill list. CE raised his eyebrows slightly and said without any change in his expression. The people on Anhun's must-kill list were the wanted criminals of Anhun. As long as they were on Anhun's must-kill list, the assassins or special agents of Anhun had to kill them as soon as they saw them. The number 1 person on Anhun's must-kill list was wanted by the entire Anhun. Even if they did not die, it was definitely not a joke. Chapter 1257. That was a fate worse than death. Mad Dragon's face had darkened to the point of no return. I will definitely head to the kosher mercenaries within 3 days and I promise I won't get within 3 meters of her. Mad Dragon was sweating profusely, but on the surface, his expression didn't change at all. However, no one could have imagined that Mad Dragon's heart was so shaken that it was unrecognizable. Big news! Big news! The boss of the kosher mercenaries, the #1 international secret agent, was actually together with the leader of the Hun organization, who had trained her? Just the fact that Ce forbade him from getting close to Yun Jian, or he would be marked as the top figure on Hun's must-kill list, was enough to scare Wild Dragon. He wouldn't dare to touch us even if he died. She was the leader of the Hun organization. After hearing Mad Dragon's promise, Ce smirked. He didn't say anything else, and walked towards where Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju were. At this moment, Yun Jian was holding Duan Li and Duan Ye's hands, while Lin Huai was helping Yun Jian hold Xiao Yunju's hand. They were standing at their original spot watching the surfing competition. Wow, sister and the others are so awesome. I want to be as awesome as them when I grow up. Xiao Yunju was still young, so his words weren't true. Children only liked to dream of their own dreams. But they didn't know the cruelty of reality. That was the benefit of being a child. Children didn't need to think too much about the trivial matters of the world. Just like Xiao Yunju, he could say whatever he wanted without any taboos. Xiaozhu will definitely be so awesome when he grows up. Yun Jian patted Yunju's head with her hand that was holding Duan Li's, before taking Duan Li's hand again. Haha. Yunju stuck his tongue out at him. By the time Ce returned, the surfing competition was already halfway through. Ce accompanied Yun Jian to watch Xiao Yunju and the other two surfing competition. It was already past 4 in the afternoon. Because the latest cruise from Zhoudao back to Ning City was at 5 p.m., they had to prepare to return at this time. Lin Huai, Xiong Yushu, and the others planned to stay on the island and play for a day before going back. Yun Jian said goodbye to Lin Huai and the others, and then said goodbye at the Boat Island's pier. This goodbye usually lasted for a lifetime. By the time Yun Jian and Qin Yiru returned to Ningxia's house in Ning City, it was already 6 o'clock in the evening. Ningxia's mother politely prepared a sumptuous dinner. Everyone had dinner in harmony. They were ready to depart for Longmen City early the next morning. Ningxia and Ningxia's mother even said in a friendly manner that Yun Jian, Qin Yiru, and Mrs. Yang's family would definitely come to Ning City again. They returned to Longmen City after saying their goodbyes. Their return to Longmen City this time was different from before. There was an additional person, Si Luo. Si Luo and Qing Yu got along well, so he wanted to stay at Qing Yu's house when they arrived in Longmen City. Haha, you can't go wrong staying at my house. Don't you think so, Sister Jian? Qing Yu asked Yun Jian when she dragged Si Luo to her house. That's great. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her hair was loose today, but it was not tied up with a headband. They were still on the bus on the way back. A cool breeze blew outside the window, blowing Yun Jian's hair up. There was a lingering fragrance in her hair that was pleasing to the nose. But I have a little idiot who's noisy every day at home. You have to get used to it. Her name is Gunyan. Qing Yu chuckled and introduced her to Si Luo. Si Luo did not know how to say anything else, but he was already grateful that Qing Yu was willing to take him in. Shuang could not take it anymore. He rushed up from the back seat to grab Si Luo's wrist and told Qing Yu, "Brother Jian, let's go." Chapter 1258. When Shuang said that, not only were the people on the bus stunned, even Shuang himself was stunned. However, Shuang was different from the others. If it had been someone else who had accidentally said something so awkward, they would have tried to change the topic. However, Shuang was taken aback. He then grabbed Si Luo's hand and leaned against the backrest of Si Luo's seat confidently, continuing to reason with Qing Yu in front of everyone on the bus. "She came back with me. I should be the one to take her in. Why are you snatching her away from me?" Shuang sounded quite confident. Then he added after a pause, "Besides, she's the one who begged me to take her in. You can ask her yourself if you don't believe me." Shuang was still trying to act innocent. Not only did he want to snatch her away, but he also wanted Si Luo to admit that she was the one who wanted to follow him. As he spoke, Shuang tugged at Si Luo's wrist, intending to get her to speak. Si Luo thought that Yun Jian was the boss here, so she turned to look at Yun Jian. Si Luo thought that Yun Jian was the boss because Ce had to listen to Yun Jian here. If Yun Jian wanted to go east, Ce would not dare to go west. After glancing at Yun Jian, She saw Yun Jian grinning at her. Si Luo pouted and turned her head back. She shrunk her neck in fear and glanced at the scar on Shui Ying's neck before shifting her gaze back to Qingyu. I think I should stay with Qingyu. Shui Ying grabbed Si Luo's wrist tightly. She was terrified, but still, she mustered up her courage to speak her mind. She shrunk her neck just as Si Luo finished speaking, afraid that Shui Ying would scold her. The scar on Shui Ying's neck was horrifying. Si Luo was truly terrified. If she were to see Shui Ying in the middle of the night at his house, it would really be. On the other hand, Qingyu was different. Qingyu was so pretty and would protect her. More importantly, Qingyu mentioned that she had a silly girl at home who was a troublemaker named Gu Nianji. This way, she would not feel bored staying in Qingyu's house. So she still chose to. Damn, you're actually planning to do it with her? No, this won't do. You came back with me, so you have to come with me. Shui Ying's grip tightened. In the end, Shui Ying dragged Si Luo to his house. Shui Ying stayed in Longmen City for a day upon his return before rushing back to an Hun group. Shui Ying was supposed to leave with Lin Wei when they left Longmen City, but he was different today as he left with Si Luo. Si Luo had wanted to stay in Longmen City, but she dared not resist Shui Ying's tug. She could only shrink her neck and leave with Shui Ying under Qingyu and Yun Jian's cheers. Oh God, Si Luo is so pitiful. Don't you think so, Sister Jian? Qingyu shook her head, standing at the bus stop to send Shui Ying and the others to the airport. I think so. Yun Jian turned to give Qingyu a half-smile and went to see Yi, who was standing not too far away. The next few days were very ordinary. With Si Yi's company for the past few days, Yun Jian's days were anything but ordinary. The third global underground tea party would be held in a few days' time. To put it bluntly, it was a gathering of the world's underground secret agents and assassins. 3 days before the underground tea party, Yun Jian had a month of peaceful summer vacation. In the blink of an eye, it was almost August. 3 days before the tea party, Yun Jian was asked to attend the graduation ceremony of Junior 3 Class A. The graduation ceremony was held on the 29th of July this time. It was a little late since it was a last-minute event. Chapter 1259. Zhang Xiaofeng was waving at Yun Jian with all his might. Chen Xini, on the other hand, had her hands gently cupped by her lips, using this as an excuse to shout at Yun Jian from afar. It had been a few days since Yun Jian had seen Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Xini, this pair of buffoons. She couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. Hey, it's so embarrassing for the two of you to shout here and there. We have to maintain our poise. Ling Yichen, who was standing beside Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Xini, coolly flipped his short hair that couldn't be flipped. Then he struck a cool pose. Screw you. We're all on the same side. Stop pretending. Zhang Xiaofeng slapped Ling Yichen's cool pose away. You're not from our class, yet you're attending our graduation ceremony with us. Aren't you ashamed? Zhang Xiaofeng rebuked Ling Yichen with his master, Yun Jian, backing him up. It's not like I'm the only one from another class who's here to join in the fun. Didn't the other students in your class also invite their classmates who aren't from your class to attend your graduation ceremony? Ling Yichen eloquently rebutted Zhang Xiaofeng. Hey, I say, you're acting all high and mighty when a classmate from another class comes to attend our graduation ceremony. Zhang Xiaofeng joked as he bickered with Ling Yichen. However, before the two of them could finish their bickering, Yun Jian's cold voice rang out. If the two of you say another word, I'll make you walk backwards right now. Hearing his master's words, Zhang Xiaofeng quickly shrank back. Ling Yichen was also shaken by Yun Jian's imposing manner. Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen believed in Yun Jian's words very much, so the two of them immediately stopped talking. Ha ha ha. My Jian Jian is the best, Chen Xini said as she hooked her arm around Yun Jian's and stuck her tongue out at Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen. Everyone is here, right? We can go to the hotel for lunch. The person who organized the graduation ceremony was Yun Jian's class study committee member, Lin Yaqian. Lin Yaqian was a very ordinary-looking girl, but she was very good at her studies and had excellent organizational skills. It was just that she was usually very quiet and didn't like to talk much. In school, Lin Yaqian always wore her school uniform, Today, she had changed into a white dress, which made her look like a fairy. Sure thing, study commissary as you wish. Zhang Xiaofeng was at ease, entering the hotel with Yun Jian and the others with a chuckle. Today, the graduation ceremony of the students had even called their teachers over. At this time, the results of the middle school exams were already out. After entering high school, the students would go their separate ways. After entering the private room of the hotel, Yun Jian followed Zhang Xiaofeng and the others to a table. There were 3 to 4 tables set up around them in the same room. This was also to make it easier for the class reunion. After Yun Jian sat down, a few of the rowdier boys in the class started to kick up a fuss. Hey, don't leave later. Qi Xiaoxiao's boyfriend from our class will be here later. Her boyfriend is the young master of Prosperous Fountain Company in Zhe Province. His family is filthy rich. Qi Xiaoxiao said later that she'll get her boyfriend to bring her to Longmen City's racecourse for horseback riding. It's free for all of us. Prosperous Fountain's young master is treating us, haha. Right after the rowdy boys finished speaking, the girl named Qi Xiaoxiao, who had been quite obedient in school, was already wearing a thick layer of makeup. It hadn't even been 2 months since she left school, but she was already wearing heavy makeup. Today, she was even wearing a pink miniskirt with a lot of rouge and face powder on. Qi Xiaoxiao stood up and said proudly, "It's not that exaggerated. My boyfriend's family is only worth tens of millions." A net worth of tens of millions was an unimaginable amount in 1999. Chapter 1260. Upon hearing Qi Xiaoxiao's words, both the male and female students gasped in shock. Wow! Qi Xiaoxiao, your boyfriend's family is so powerful? He's already worth tens of millions. A girl exclaimed at Qi Xiaoxiao with sparkling eyes. Just as the girl finished, another boy chimed in. Qi Xiaoxiao's status now is different from before. She's the future madam of Prosperous Fountain Company. The entire company should be hers in the future. When the boy said that, there was another round of "oh" from the crowd. Qi Xiaoxiao was even more smug when she heard what the boy said. Coincidentally, the boy added, "Qi Xiaoxiao, don't forget us when you're successful in the future." The latter part of his words elicited gasps from the crowd. Yun Jian's identity as an advanced special forces soldier was shocking, but compared to Qi Xiaoxiao, who was likely to be the future madam of Prosperous Fountain Company, the students preferred to suck up to her. It was because Qi Xiaoxiao would become rich. People were all very realistic. In the face of benefits, reputation was not worth mentioning at all. Qi Xiaoxiao picked up a cup of tea and downed it like a rich lady amidst everyone's praises and adulation. Yun Jian was not affected by the atmosphere, as she was chatting with Chen Xini and her friends at the corner of the dining table. Master, you'll be studying outside the city after you go to the military school. You must come back to visit us in the future. Zhang Xiaofeng said reluctantly. After all, it was almost a year of friendship. It was not something that could be forgotten so easily. Yeah, Jian, we're studying in high school in Longmen City. You're out of Longmen City now and going to a high school outside. You must come back to visit us when you're free. Chen Xini said, gripping Yun Jian's hand tightly. Yeah, me too. Xiaofeng Xini, and I got into the same high school. Ling Yichen chimed in. Looking at their expectant gazes, Yun Jian nodded and smiled. Yes, I will. Come to think of it, the first friends she made when she left Xinjiang town and came to Longmen City were Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Xini. Ling Yichen had gotten to know her not too long after that. Up until today, the 3 of them had been by his side. However, Yun Jian knew that all good things must come to an end, just like Lu Fian. When they would meet, they would always meet. A person had to walk their own path in life. No one could accompany them to the end, because everyone's lifespan and experience were different. No one could be sure. My boyfriend is here. At this moment, Qi Xiaoxiao, who was sitting at the table next to Yun Jian's, suddenly looked at the door excitedly. Then she stood up and ran over. To Qi Xiaoxiao, the only reason she could change was because of her boyfriend. Moreover, she had a boyfriend now, so she had become more confident. Back in school, Qi Xiaoxiao was an ugly girl who did not know how to dress up. Now that she was out of school, she knew how to dress up and put on makeup. Now, She could even boldly reveal her boyfriend's assets humbly, eliciting gasps from the people around them. Qi Xiaoxiao was very satisfied with this feeling. Yun Jian did not look up but Chen Xinyi, and the others looked over. A man in his early 20s wearing a pair of ripped pants stood at the door, thinking that he looked cool. It was obvious that he was a delinquent. Chapter 1261. Qi Xiaoxiao pulled on the man named Lin Zihang and boasted to the crowd. As expected, Qi Xiaoxiao's boasting was effective. Just as Qi Xiaoxiao finished her words, the students around them went into an uproar. What? Qi Xiaoxiao, is what you said true? Your boyfriend is footing the bill for everything we've spent today? Someone asked Qi Xiaoxiao in disbelief. When Qi Xiaoxiao saw that everyone was so shocked, she was very satisfied that everyone was looking at her with such an expression. Therefore, Qi Xiaoxiao didn't even want to pay attention to those who were looking at her with such an expression. Qi Xiaoxiao hooked her arm around Lin Zihang's and said coquettishly like a little girl, "Zihang, don't you think so? We're footing the bill today. It's just this much anyway. Your allowance for half a day is enough." It turned out that Lin Zihang had not agreed to it yet. Yun Jian did not look up but she scoffed. Lin Zihang resisted the urge to slap Qi Xiaoxiao, who asked her to spout nonsense and make him foot the bill. In spite of it, Lin Zihang still had to pretend to be a rich young master, who did not care about money. "Eat as much as you want today. It's all on me," Lin Zihang said through clenched teeth. "Then we won't hold back. Haha, rich people are indeed different." A boy opened his mouth to tease. Everyone was chatting and joking but most of them were sucking up to Lin Zihang, or Qi Xiaoxiao. At this moment, Yun Jian's identity as an advanced special forces soldier was insignificant. In spite of it, it was what Yun Jian wanted. Halfway through the meal, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang went out to settle the bill. Since they had to go to Longmen City's racecourse in the afternoon, they had to finish their lunch quickly, or they would not have enough time to play. "Jian, come with me to the washroom," Chen Xinyi asked Yun Jian as she held her stomach. Yun Jian was done eating, and had nothing to do now, so she stood up to accompany Chen Xinyi to the washroom, when Chen Xinyi called her. Hotel washrooms were usually separated into male and female washrooms with sinks. Yun Jian didn't go to the ladies' room. She was there to accompany Chen Xinyi. She stood at the sink and waited for Chen Xinyi. Suddenly, a very soft conversation could be heard from afar. Yun Jian's ears were very sensitive. Although she didn't deliberately listen, she could still hear the conversation coming from the side of the sink and the stairs. Rather than a conversation, it was more like a couple kissing. "Zihang, Zihang." Yun Jian could tell that it was Qi Xiaoxiao's voice that came from her. Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. She leaned against the wall and hid by the staircase, squinting her eyes to look. At the staircase, Qi Xiaoxiao was hugging Lin Zihang, and the two of them were kissing happily. He was really thirsty. Yun Jian sneered silently. In this era, there weren't many surveillance cameras installed in hotels, at least not here. Moreover, the staircase where Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were kissing had no windows. It was dark and gloomy, so not many people used it. "Xiaoxiao." Lin Zihang's hand had already reached into Qi Xiaoxiao's clothes naughtily. "Don't." Qi Xiaoxiao moaned coyly. The voice sent chills down Yun Jian's spine. Yun Jian squinted when she saw Qi Xiaoxiao stop Lin Zihang's hand and said shyly to him, "Zihang, we're already like this. When are you going to get engaged to me?" Yun Jian raised a brow. Chapter 1262. Yun Jian could clearly feel Qi Xiaoxiao's shock at Lin Zihang's sudden change in attitude. After all, Qi Xiaoxiao was dating Lin Zihang with the goal of marrying him. Zihang, what did you say? Didn't I already do it with you? Why are you going back on your words? Didn't you say before?" Qi Xiaoxiao was dumbfounded. She thought she would really marry Prosperous Fountain Company's young master, Lin Zihang, like what her classmates said. "Before? What did I say before?" Lin Zihang refused to admit it. Initially, Lin Zihang could still say a few words to coax Qi Xiaoxiao, but when Qi Xiaoxiao said that he would foot the bill for today's class reunion, Lin Zihang changed his mind completely. That wasn't a small sum. What right did she have to make the decision for him? Did she really think that she was his housekeeper? Lin Zihong was thoroughly enraged. But didn't we already? You said that as long as I'm with you, you'll treat me well. What's yours is mine. Qi Xiaoxiao was stunned by Lin Zihong's words. While they were still arguing, Yun Jian had returned to the sink. Just as she did so, Chen Xinyi's screams came from the washroom. Jian, I didn't bring any tissues. What should I do? Jian, can you help me ask the front desk if there are any tissues? We can see the front desk if we go down the stairs. Chen Xinyi was upset as she squatted in the washroom and shouted at Yun Jian with her hands covering her face. Okay. Yun Jian nodded faintly. Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihong were still arguing by the stairs. Overall, Lin Zihong had the upper hand. Lin Zihong pinched Qi Xiaoxiao's chin and told her, I'm just interested in you and your King taking advantage of me? Do you think I have to marry you just because we've slept together a few times? Ha! I've always been the one leading you in bed like a dead fish. If you know what's good for you, be good and don't be so shameless. I can still give you face and play with you for a while. Otherwise, I'll make you look bad today. Lin Zihang said fiercely to Qi Xiaoxiao. He had exposed his viciousness in its original form. Revealing his true colors was nothing more than this. Qi Xiaoxiao was shocked by Lin Zihang's ugliness. She originally thought that the matter of her becoming the madam of Prosperous Fountain Company was already set in stone. Now that she had bragged, how was she going to face others in the future? Lin Zihang, how could you do this? You didn't say that before. You said that as long as I was with you, you would treat me well for the rest of my life. You still dare to say that you... Qi Xiaoxiao had only just finished her sentence. Lin Zihang didn't even have time to interrupt Qi Xiaoxiao. At this moment, a figure silently passed by the two of them. Yun Jian didn't make any sound as she stepped on the stairs. She walked past Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang, as if she didn't hear their heated conversation, and headed downstairs. Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were arguing just now, and Yun Jian didn't make any sound when she walked. Thus, the two of them only noticed Yun Jian when she appeared in front of them. Especially when it was dark on the stairs. Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were so shocked that they almost fell down when they saw Yun Jian. At this moment, Yun Jian had already walked past Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang and was about to head down the stairs. Qi Xiaoxiao finally saw Yun Jian clearly. When she saw that this person was actually Yun Jian, she was so shocked that her face turned pale. Lin Zihang was also shocked. Nobody wanted their scandals to be spread. Especially people like Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang, who were prideful. Yun Jian? Stop right there. Qi Xiaoxiao shouted at Yun Jian after she saw her clearly. Did Yun Jian hear my conversation with Lin Zihang just now? How much did she hear? Yun Jian didn't bother with Qi Xiaoxiao. This time, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang rushed down together and blocked Yun Jian's path. Qi Xiaoxiao even pointed at Yun Jian and said, Yun Jian, stop right there. I told you to stop right there. No one can order me around. Yun Jian suddenly looked sideways at Qi Xiaoxiao. Her sharp eyes were filled with murderous intent. Yun Jian's words made Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang tremble. Chapter 1263. Yun Jian's sudden words made Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang tremble. What did you say? Qi Xiaoxiao was shocked by Yun Jian's words. Qi Xiaoxiao took 2 steps back at the thought that Yun Jian was an advanced special forces soldier. But very quickly, Qi Xiaoxiao was afraid that her scandal with Lin Zihang would be exposed, and she was even more afraid that she had bragged in front of everyone. Many people even said that she could become the future madam of Shengyuan Company. But in such a short time, Lin Zihang didn't want her anymore? That wasn't the main point. The main point was that Lin Zihang wasn't tired of her. This meant that if Qi Xiaoxiao didn't say anything, no one would know. But she had just bragged in front of so many people, and Yun Jian had seen it? Yun Jian heard what she said? How much did she hear? How was she going to face others if this got out? Yun Jian, what did you hear? Let me tell you, my boyfriend is the young master of Shengyuan Company. If you dare to say a word about what you just heard, I'll make sure you're in big trouble. Qi Xiaoxiao was obviously scared to death. If people found out that she had slept with Lin Zihang, The main thing was that Lin Zihang didn't want to marry her anymore. If this got out, she would lose all her face. She would definitely be done for. When people talked about her, they would only say that she was a slut. She didn't know how to behave at such a young age. Qi Xiaoxiao was afraid, so she stopped Yun Jian from going downstairs, not allowing Yun Jian to go downstairs. Yun Jian glanced at Qi Xiaoxiao. Yun Jian was taller and slimmer than Qi Xiaoxiao. Qi Xiaoxiao was also a little chubby. Lin Zihang stood in the dark corridor of the staircase and couldn't see Yun Jian's face clearly, but he knew that Yun Jian wasn't bad just by looking at Yun Jian's figure. That playboy aura of his was aroused again. Of course, Lin Zihang didn't want his scandal to be exposed. If his father found out that he was fooling around with a woman like Qi Xiaoxiao, his pocket money would be deducted in the future. Thus, Lin Zihang stopped Yun Jian from going downstairs and said to Qi Xiaoxiao while panting, "You don't want others to know either, right? Then come over here and help me record it. I'm going to F***ck her right here. Then she's in the same boat as us." Lin Zihang stretched out his hand and threw the phone to Qi Xiaoxiao, thinking that he was suave. Current cell phones didn't have the ability to record, but they already had the ability to record. "What you?" Qi Xiaoxiao didn't expect Lin Zihang to say something like that. She was stunned. "What else can we do? This was the best way to seal this woman's mouth." "Qi Xiaoxiao, hurry up!" Lin Zihang roared. Qi Xiaoxiao gritted her teeth. She also felt that this was probably the best way. At this moment, Lin Zihang had already lunged towards Yun Jian. Needless to say, Lin Zihang's idea was the safest. If it had been any other girl today, she would have been completely ruined by Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang. Fortunately, the person standing here today was Yun Jian. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. There was no light here, and she could feel Lin Zihang's hand reaching towards her. Yun Jian dodged to the side gently. Then, she kicked Lin Zihang's abdomen and stomped him to the ground. She didn't even lift a finger. She stomped Lin Zihang's body to the ground with her foot alone. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. Even in the dark, Lin Zihang was shocked by Yun Jian's skills. Qi Xiaoxiao suddenly remembered that Yun Jian was an advanced special forces soldier. In the next second, she heard Yun Jian's eerie voice clearly. "Heh, it's so quiet here and no one's walking around. If I kill you now, cut your bodies into 8 pieces, and throw them into a gunny sack, and throw them into the stream. Will anyone discover your bodies?" Yun Jian's words were terrifying, especially with her skills and in this dark environment. Chapter 1264. Yun Jian didn't waste any more time with Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang. She didn't intend to bother anyway. Besides, Chun Sinny was still waiting for her in the toilet. After Yun Jian finished her sentence, she walked downstairs lazily with her hands in her pockets, as if nothing had happened. Qi Xiaoxiao was shocked. Her hands were unsteady just now, and she accidentally dropped Lin Zihang's phone on the floor. However, both Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang weren't paying attention to this. They were more concerned about whether Yun Jian would reveal what she said just now. Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang didn't say anything as they watched Yun Jian walk down the stairs towards the front desk on the first floor. After a while, Lin Zihang shouted angrily at Qi Xiaoxiao, "Hurry and help me up. It hurts so much. Damn it." Qi Xiaoxiao was so shocked that she quickly ran over to help Lin Zihang up. After all, Qi Xiaoxiao had to coax Lin Zihang so that her days of being admired would last longer. After helping Lin Zihang up, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang quickly walked towards the room where their classmates were. Although they were afraid that Yun Jian would reveal what she saw just now, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were more afraid that Yun Jian would go back first. Because at least if they went back first, even if Yun Jian wanted to talk nonsense, she wouldn't be able to prove it. For the next period of time, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were in a state of tension. When the classmates talked to Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang, they could clearly feel that Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang were distracted. Because they didn't know what was going on, the classmates didn't pay much attention to it. Until Yun Jian and Chun Sinny returned from the toilet, Qi Xiaoxiao and Lin Zihang didn't even bother to be polite with their classmates. Their eyes were constantly on Yun Jian. Yun Jian and Chen Sini had just returned to their seats when Zhang Xiaofeng's scolding voice was heard. "Ayo, damn Sini! Why did you take so long to go to the toilet? I almost thought you fell into a pit. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll beat you up." When Chen Sini heard this, she was a little petty. She immediately clenched her fist and puckered her lips as she lightly punched Zhang Xiaofeng. Zhang Xiaofeng laughed as he grabbed Chen Sini's fist that was coming at him. He then continued to tease her. "Take it easy. I'm not the same as before. Right now, I have the ultimate technique that Master personally imparted to me. Ha ha ha." With that, Zhang Xiaofeng even waved his hand, pretending to be very domineering. Of course, Zhang Xiaofeng was simply joking. It was just the kind of playful banter between acquaintances. Chen Sini was amused by Zhang Xiaofeng's actions. Even Yun Jian's lips curled into a smile. "Xiao Xiao, why are you looking at Yun Jian over there?" a girl from the next table asked in a strange tone. Suddenly, there was the sound of chopsticks falling to the ground, followed by the sound of Qi Xiao Zhao's messy hands and feet. No, I just think she looks especially good today. I wonder what foundation she's wearing today, haha." From her voice, one could tell that Qi Xiao Xiao was in a panic. The more Yun Jian pretended that nothing had happened, the more Qi Xiao Xiao and Lin Zihang were afraid that she had ulterior motives. However, in reality, Yun Jian didn't want to care about what had just happened. "I don't wear makeup." Yun Jian's cold voice was heard. Her voice was icy, sending chills down one's spine. Qi Xiao Xiao and Lin Zihang shivered at the same time. Chapter 1265. The awkward atmosphere from before had been resolved by Lin Yaqian. Everyone had already finished eating. Now they stood up and walked out of the hotel with their friends. Yun Jian, Chen Sini, and the other two girls exited the hotel as well. Qi Xiao Xiao and Lin Zihang walked out of the hotel arm in arm. However, it wasn't hard to tell that they had a lot on their minds, just by looking at their expressions. "It's not too far to walk to the racecourse from here. We'll be there in about 20 minutes. Lin Yaqian said methodically as she stood in front of everyone. "Our study committee member has spoken. Let's follow her, haha." A few of the more mischievous boys chimed in when they heard Lin Yaqian. Although it was a class reunion, it was mostly a gathering of friends who got along well with them. They were separated into twos and threes, but they were all going to the same place. Yun Jian, Chen Sini, Zhang Xiaofeng, and Ling Yichen were close friends, so they went together. Just as they stepped out of the hotel, Yun Jian saw a familiar figure at the entrance. It was Qingyu. It was obvious that Qingyu was here for Yun Jian. Yun Jian's lips curled as she went over. "Sister Jian." Qingyu called out to Yun Jian when she saw her. Yun Jian saw Qingyu as well. She was pulling on a rope that was tied around Gu Nianji's hands, who stood not too far away. Gu Nianji stood on the side with a pout as her hands were tied up. When she saw Yun Jian, Gu Nianji told Yun Jian angrily, "Yun Jian, I won't kill you. Let me go. This rope is tied up like I'm a prisoner. I'm a formidable character who can scare a lot of people to death back where I come from. How am I supposed to face this?" As she spoke, Gu Nianji tugged on the rope with both hands. Ever since Gu Nianji failed to assassinate Yun Jian the last time, she had completely given up on trying to assassinate Yun Jian. Yun Jian was too strong. She couldn't beat her at all. Therefore, Gu Nianji wanted to return to the Yulong continent. After all, she was from the Yulong continent and was an assassin there. If Gu Nianji had to choose, she wouldn't have been so stupid as to tear up the notice on the billboard and come to Earth to assassinate Yun Jian for the generous reward. She regretted it so much. Where was the medicine for regret? She would definitely be the first to buy it. Seeing that someone had suddenly appeared and was looking for Yun Jian, some of the students who were walking past turned their heads to look at Yun Jian. After all, his classmates had been paying close attention to him. Especially when Gu Nianji was tied up by Qingyu, it was too eye-catching. However, when they heard what Gu Nianji said to Yun Jian, the boys and girls who were about to walk past them all stopped in their tracks. One of the female students was even quicker than Yun Jian when she asked Gu Nianji, "You want to kill Yun Jian? Murder? Are you kidding me? Or was he acting?" "Murder is against the law. Of course, normal people would be shocked to hear what Gu Nianji said, especially students of this age, who were usually more free and lazy. The students who passed by Yun Jian stopped to look at Gu Nianji and Yun Jian. The problem is that I can't beat Yun Jian. I can't kill her, Gu Nianji said innocently, as if she did not feel that murder was wrong. Gu Nianji, who came from the Yulong continent, was just like Lan Su back then. She knew nothing about Earth. Gu Nianji then turned to look at Yun Jian. Yun Jian, let me go. Look at how long Qing Yu's been keeping me locked up. It's so rare for me to get some sunlight today. I feel like I'm turning into a vampire. The surrounding students could not understand what Gu Nianji and Yun Jian were saying. In spite of it, a lot of students had shifted their attention to Yun Jian. The more they could not understand, the more interested they were. Chapter 1266. Then, Yun Jian reached out to ruffle Gu Nianji's raven hair. She smiled and took 2 steps forward. Then, she paused and turned to look at Qing Yu. Both of you come with us. Qing Yu nodded and followed Yun Jian with the rope that bound Gu Nianji's hands. Gu Nianji pouted, but eventually followed Yun Jian with Qing Yu. Halfway through, Qing Yu paused to ruffle Gu Nianji's head like Yun Jian, and lowered her head to tease her softly by her ear. Silly Nian Nian. Then, Qing Yu suppressed her laughter and followed Yun Jian. Gu Nianji was speechless. Did she want to die? Why were both of them bullying her? The group of students standing behind him were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Why were Gu Nianji and Yun Jian speaking in such a profound manner? Why did it feel like the two of them were deliberately putting on a show for their classmates to get everyone's attention? Some of the students felt disgusted. They thought that Yun Jian was doing this on purpose to get everyone's attention. However, no one exposed her or showed their emotions on their faces. Yun Jian's class reunion was also considered a graduation ceremony. Not only were the students from the same class able to attend, but students from other classes, and even those who were not from Longmini High School could attend as well. Therefore, it did not matter if Qing Yu and Gu Nianji were there as well. Qing Yu brought Gu Nianji out for a walk today, but she knew that Yun Jian's class was having a reunion, so she brought Gu Nianji along to join in the fun. Let's go, let's go. We have to hurry. It's best to get to the racecourse before 12:50 p.m. because we have to pick our favorite horses when we get there later. There'll be a horse race in the afternoon too. Lin Yaqian walked at the front, like a tour guide, leading everyone forward. One had to admit that Lin Yaqian's arrangement was very appropriate. Especially when they were in school, Lin Yaqian, as the study committee member, had displayed extraordinary organizational skills. Therefore, everyone was more than happy to listen to Lin Yaqian's arrangement. Soon, Yun Jian and the others arrived at the racecourse. When they arrived at the stud farm, the first thing they saw was the old man who raised the horses. The old man's surname was Zhang. He was already in his 50s or 60s. He had been raising horses for nearly 30 to 40 years. It could be said that he had been focusing on raising horses since he was 16 or 17 years old. He knew horses very well. Right now, Uncle Zhang was helping to manage the entire horse farm. Lin Zihang obviously knew Uncle Zhang, so Lin Zihang said a few words to Uncle Zhang in a very smug manner. Then, Uncle Zhang led everyone to choose a horse. Xiao Jian, what horse do you want to pick? Chen Sini was excited as she tugged at Yun Jian and asked Yun Jian, this type of horse can't fly, so I'm not riding it. Gu Nianji glared at the people who were choosing horses in disdain. All the horses in the Yulong continent could fly. She didn't want this kind of horse. Yun Jian curled her lips slightly. I think this horse isn't bad. It's sturdy and strong. It'll definitely run the fastest. I'll choose it. Zhang Xiaofeng was already in front of a horse. He untied the black horse's leash and said, let's go. Pfft. A chuckle from a boy suddenly rang out. The guy who suddenly laughed was not Yun Jian's classmate. He was probably a friend or relative who had come with one of his classmates. After he was done laughing, he started mocking Zhang Xiaofeng. Chapter 1267. The man spoke in an absolute tone, and his words were full of arrogance. The boy was about 17 or 18 years old. He looked like a high school student, and he should be a relative or friend of one of Yunjian's classmates. After the boy finished speaking, someone immediately said, "Wow, you're Kai Lin's cousin Kai Yi, right?" When the boy Kai Yi heard that someone actually knew him, he nodded very proudly and said, "Yes." "Hey, so you're the cousin who's very good at horse racing that our classmate Kai Lin mentioned. I also heard that you once participated in that provincial horse racing competition, and even won the second prize." The classmate who asked Kai Yi just now heard that he was the legendary horse racing master that he had heard of before. Especially now that the horse racing was about to take place, this person worshipped Kai Yi even more. "Hey, I only won the second prize. As long as you persevere like me and race every day for 3 years, it's something that anyone can do." Kai Yi still felt that he didn't have enough firepower, so he said very modestly. Sometimes the more modest the words were, the more high profile they were. Kai Yi was so modest just to show off his high profile, that was all. Kai Yi's words were heard by more students around him. Therefore, the students praised him one after another. "So amazing. Look, people who are amazing are also trained. It's 3 years, and he can persevere like this. He's really amazing. I really admire him. He can be called the school's most handsome guy." The surrounding students began to talk about it, which made Kai Yi even more arrogant. It was as if he was really an amazing person. On this side, Zhang Xiaofeng was angry, but Yin Jian walked to the horse group. She narrowed her eyes and reached out to untie a horse tied to a wooden pole. "I'll choose this one. Hey, little girl, this horse is not easy to control. This horse is the fiercest horse here. Anyone who gets on its back will fall off in less than 3 seconds. Only the top horse trainer can barely ride on its back. If you get on it, you'll break your leg." When Uncle Zhang saw Yun Jian untie the horse, he hurriedly ran over to stop her. "Uncle Zhang, why don't I try to tame this horse? Although I'm not the best, I've been learning for 3 years. When Kai Yi heard Uncle Zhang's words, he suppressed the restlessness in his heart and walked over to Uncle Zhang from afar. Uncle Zhang revealed a troubled expression. "Uncle Zhang, don't worry. I can definitely do it," Kai Yi said very confidently. He was just waiting to shine in front of everyone. "Okay." Uncle Zhang was silent for 2 seconds before he nodded in agreement. Yun Jian didn't say anything. She just stood there and watched Kai Yi lead the horse in front of everyone. Because of Uncle Zhang's words, the surrounding people tensed up and looked over. Uncle Zhang said that this horse could only be tamed by a top-notch horse trainer. Kai Yi's current actions were obviously a challenge to tame this ferocious horse. Therefore, the surrounding people were attracted over. At the same time, each of them nervously looked at the scene that was about to happen in front of them. Kai Yi felt that the surrounding people were sizing him up. He couldn't wait to show off even more. Therefore, Kai Yi simply grabbed the reins and forcefully stepped on the stirrups to sit on the back of this ferocious horse. Just as he sat on the back of this ferocious horse, the horse roared and shook crazily. Kai Yi was stunned for a few seconds. He desperately grabbed the reins, but in less than 3 seconds, he was thrown to the ground by the horse. Kai Yi endured the pain and quickly stood up. Then, in order to not embarrass himself, he deliberately explained, "This horse is really a ferocious horse. I don't think anyone here can tame it." Just as he said this, everyone saw a small figure flash in front of everyone. They saw Yin Jian quickly step forward. She used 3 seconds to rush to the front of the horse from afar. Then she fiercely kicked her legs and directly flipped over. She didn't even need to step on the stirrups, and directly got on the back of the horse. Then in the same second, she reached out and grabbed the reins of the horse. The moment the horse roared crazily, she grabbed the reins and used the reins to restrain the restless horse in the shortest time possible, until the horse was completely quiet and tamed by her. Chapter 1268. Yun Jian's words were loud and clear. Her voice echoed throughout the hall, and everyone was stunned. She actually rode on the back of this horse? Didn't they say that this horse was wild? Didn't they say that only the best horse trainers could tame it? Some students stared blankly as Yun Jian mounted the horse. Especially when Kai Yi was thrown off the horse in less than 3 seconds. No one doubted that this was a wild horse. What kind of capability did Yun Jian have to be able to do what she did just now to be able to ride such a dark horse. A few of the boys who had their limelight stolen by Kai just now, and were still holding a grudge, saw this and clapped their hands and shouted, "Good, good. Yunjian, good job. You didn't embarrass our class, eh?" Even though everyone had graduated, they still referred to each other as their class. Kai wasn't from their class, so the boys in Year 3 class A were extremely displeased when they saw Kai and Lin Ziheng being called by their classmates and showing off at their graduation ceremony. They just didn't show it on their faces. When Kai fell off the horse just now, the boys in Yunjian's class wanted to clap and cheer, but they didn't show it directly. Yunjian got on the horse after Kai fell off because he couldn't control it. This action was like giving Kai a big slap in the face. Therefore, the group of boys in the class cheered and howled. They were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. Kai was in a hurry to get up just now to explain himself, but he ended up being bullied by Yunjian. His expression darkened instantly. "Cousin." At this moment, Kai's cousin Kai Lin walked up to Kai and handed him a few tissues. Kai Lin was Yunjian's classmate, and Kai was here today because of Kai Lin's invitation. After Kai Lin walked over and handed the tissues to Kai, she turned around and looked at the crowd. At the same time, she glared fiercely at Yunjian from the corner of her eye and said, "It's nothing to be able to ride a horse. Horse racing is all about skill. My cousin's horse racing skills were once praised by a national horse racing coach. That coach once represented country Z in an international competition. I heard that he even won a grand prize." Kai Lin said it in a very high-profile manner. She didn't believe that Yunjian was an advanced special forces soldier. This was already unbelievable. Could she be an all-round secret agent? Just like the secret agents in the movies who could blend in with all kinds of professionals without being discovered? Was she an extremely powerful existence? Wasn't this a joke? How old was she? Kai Lin was very unhappy. She had been unhappy with Yunjian for a long time. "That's amazing." Immediately, some girls began to chime in. "Oh my God, he is so awesome. He was praised by a national horse racing coach." The girls began to grit their teeth again. At this moment, Yunjian had already firmly restrained the horse. She pulled the reins and led the horse to Gunyinji with ease. She didn't care what the people around her were saying. Yunjian merely smiled and hooked her index finger at Gunyinji, saying, "I'll give you a chance to set you free as long as you choose a horse to race against me." Yunjian's words successfully attracted everyone's attention. Gunyinji made an exaggerated expression when she was called and pointed at the horses before saying, "What? You want me to use this inferior horse that can't fly to race against you? Are you kidding me?" Yunjian and Gunyinji's conversation shocked everyone. Chapter 1269. Kai Lin had one or two friends with her as well. It was easy for girls to get jealous, especially after what Yunjian had just done and said. She had attracted everyone's attention. Therefore, after Kai Lin finished speaking, a few girls immediately followed suit and pointed at Yunjian, Gunyinji, and Qingyu. Yunjian pretended not to hear them. She stared at Gunyinji, the curve of her lips clearly visible. Girls were mostly just talking to other girls. Seeing that Yunjian was not listening, Kai Lin and the girls around her could only give up. Gunyinji felt uncomfortable being stared at by Yunjian. In the end, Gunyinji looked at Yunjian awkwardly and stammered, "Will you really set me free if I win? I'll only give you one chance. I won't wait for it after that." Yunjian crossed her arms and looked at Gunyinji without saying a word. "Fine. Let's compete. Although this horse is a little low class, I, Gunyinji, don't want to be tied up like a prisoner again." Gunyinji narrowed her eyes. "You two young ladies want to compete in horse racing?" Uncle Zhang walked up to Yunjian and Gunyinji and asked kindly. Yunjian answered. "Young ladies, this is the only racetrack we have here. I'm sure all of you youngsters would want to race, and you don't have much time. Let's see if it's a 5-person race. You two young ladies can still compete." Uncle Zhang opened his mouth to explain. There was only one racetrack here. If these 40 to 50 students from Yunjian's class and their friends and relatives wanted to race one-on-one, there would not be enough time in the afternoon. Although many of them could not even make the horse run while riding, since the students were all here, they would definitely want everyone to experience the feeling of horse racing. I have no objections. Yun Jian didn't have any objections because she only wanted to race with Gu Nianji. It had nothing to do with her if someone else got involved. Good. Then we'll add 3 more people for the first round of horse racing. Who wants to participate in the first round? Uncle Zhang heaved a sigh of relief and said to the crowd, Sister Jian, you two have fun. I won't join in the fun. Qing Yu loosened her grip on Gu Nianji's arm easily. Finally untied, Gu Nianji stretched lazily. I'll do it. Kai Yi's voice rang out. Then Kai Yi walked over to them. Are there any other 2 students who want to compete in the first round? Why don't you come together? Uncle Zhang nodded towards Kai Yi and said. In the end, 2 boys who didn't know how to ride horses were pushed out. It could be said that the 2 of them had never seen a live horse before, let alone know how to ride one. However, the 2 of them were still brave enough to stand out and give it a try. This was worthy of praise. Thus, Yun Jian, Gu Nianji, Kai Yi, and the 2 male students each pulled their chosen horses and lined up side by side at the starting line of the horse racing venue. They were ready. Cousin, do your best. You're the best. First place will definitely be yours. Kai Lin stood a distance away and cheered with her hands cupped around her mouth. Hearing his cousin's words, Kai Yi's nervousness calmed down instantly. Speaking of which, Yun Jian was just an ordinary junior high school graduate. Even if she had suppressed the wild horse just now, what did that mean? Thinking of this, Kai Yi turned to lecture Yun Jian and Gu Nianji to calm himself down. Chapter 1270. Not only was Kai Yi lecturing Yun Jian and Gu Nianji directly, it sounded like he was boasting when he said it. He said that he would not let Yun Jian and Gu Nianji win because of his love for horse racing. The reason was very valid. Kai Yi's words indirectly implied that he would definitely win against Yun Jian and Gu Nianji. Yun Jian merely scoffed at Kai Yi's words. Gu Nianji scratched her head and thought to herself, how can there be such a dumb fool on this earth? Is he really dumb, or just pretending to be dumb? How dare he say such things in front of her and Yun Jian? Other things aside, Gu Nianji knew that Yun Jian was someone with real ability. At least, it was an indisputable fact that she could not defeat Yun Jian. That was why, that was why she was now Yun Jian's captive. Kai Yi coughed dryly when he saw that Yun Jian and Gu Nianji were ignoring him. He was obviously embarrassed. However, the cheers of the girls around him boosted Kai Yi's confidence. The girls around him were shouting, Hey, don't you think this guy is handsome? He is. Didn't Kai Lin say that he won a prize in a provincial horse race? I think he'll be the champion this time. Of course. The people outside had no idea what was happening here. At the same time, in Yun Jian and Si Yi's house, Si Yi was sitting in the study. Shui Ying and Mo's son, who had returned to An Hun's headquarters, stood before him. Shui Ying took a step forward with a frown and told Si Yi, Young master, Lin Wei has brought people from the organization here. Their destination is the racecourse in the outskirts of Longmen City. Si Yi raised a brow, obviously unaware that Yun Jian was at the racecourse. Si Yi raised a brow and paused before he smirked. No matter what the remnants of the former Inferno Ring are here for, none of them must be left alive today. Yes, young master. Yes, young master. Shui Ying and Mo's son nodded after listening. It's about to start. I don't have a whistle here, so I'll use this red flag as a whistle. Once I wave this red flag, the match will begin. Uncle Zhang explained as he stood beside the starting line. No one felt that Uncle Zhang's words were inappropriate. Thus, Kai Yi and the other 2 quickly prepared themselves for a tense mental state. On the other hand, Yun Jian and Gu Nianji looked relaxed. They didn't look like they were about to compete at all. Seeing this, Kai Yi sneered again and muttered in his heart, That's right. He didn't even feel nervous before the race. And he still wanted to race? It would be strange if he could win. Get ready, everyone. Get ready. Uncle Zhang raised the red flag high and started counting down. Hearing Uncle Zhang's voice, Kai Yi's heart tightened again. He would definitely win, definitely. He even got a place in the Zhe province's horse race. How could he not win against two girls? As for the other two boys, there was no need to even mention them. Just as Kai thought of this, Uncle Zhang roared, "Begin!" At the same time, Uncle Zhang waved the small red flag in his hand. It was only then that Kai tightened his grip on the reins. Just as he was about to whip the horse to get it to run, two silhouettes suddenly appeared. Two silhouettes who were much faster than him were already galloping toward the racecourse on horseback. Seeing this, Kai even forgot to whip the horse to gallop as he watched the two silhouettes gallop away in a daze. The crowd from afar saw it as well. Under Uncle Zhang's command, the two silhouettes galloped away on their horses like lightning. Those who mocked Yun Jian and Gu Nianji in the beginning widened their eyes in bewilderment. Chapter 1271. Kai was stunned from the start as he stood rooted to the ground with the whip in his hand. It was only when Yun Jian and Gu Nianji were 10 meters away that Kai snapped back to his senses. He immediately chased after them with the whip in his hand. As for the other two boys, because they had never learned how to race horses, the two of them grabbed the reins and pulled. They accidentally drove the horses to a place that was not the racetrack and completely deviated from the racetrack. Of course, none of the students present paid any attention to the two boys. From the moment Yun Jian and Gu Nianji charged out of the starting line and left Kai in the dust, everyone knew that Kai would definitely lose this round. The key now lay in the outcome of Yun Jian and Gu Nianji's victory. Of course, at the beginning, it did give everyone a shock. No one had expected Yun Jian and Gu Nianji to be so good at it. He actually rushed out of the starting line right from the start and left Kai in the dust right from the start. Oh my god, Yun Jian and that girl are amazing. Someone began to shout as they watched Yun Jian and Gu Nianji charge out. Don't forget that Yun Jian is an advanced special forces soldier. She's the slayer of Team Monarch. Someone reminded. The people around them shrieked and exclaimed for Yun Jian when they heard it. At that moment, everyone's attention was on Yun Jian and Gu Nianji from afar. There was an endless stream of cheers and screams. Kai Lin's face immediately turned pale. How was that possible? How could her cousin Kai lose to Yun Jian and that girl? Look, there. Someone shouted, pointing at Yun Jian and Gu Nianji's departing figures. Everyone turned to look. They saw Yun Jian holding on to the reins and gradually leaving Gu Nianji behind. Gu Nianji was having a hard time chasing after her. However, it was not hard to tell that Gu Nianji was not to be underestimated. Oh my god, I've been at the racecourse for 30 to 40 years. This is the first time I've seen such an exciting race. Even Uncle Zhang couldn't help but grab the red flag that was used as a whistle to prepare for the start. His entire body tensed up. After all, Uncle Zhang was a professional, so when the people around him heard Uncle Zhang's words, their hearts tightened at this moment. If even Uncle Zhang said so, then how incredible were Yun Jian and Gu Nianji? When they were about to reach the finish line, Yun Jian and Gu Nianji had maintained their pace one after the other. In the last 10 seconds of the sprint, Yun Jian suddenly grabbed the reins and sped up. Gu Nianji had already reached her limit and could no longer speed up. In the last few seconds, Yun Jian reached the finish line 5 seconds faster than Gu Nian. As soon as she crossed the finish line, Yun Jian jumped. The horse was still galloping. Her jump was a very dangerous move, but Yun Jian was able to do it smoothly. With a leap, Yun Jian landed on the flat ground and grabbed the reins to rein the wild horse that was about to gallop away. In at most 3 seconds, she had completed this series of actions. Gu Nianji pulled the reins and slowly slowed the horse down from the finish line. By the time Gu Nianji stopped, Yun Jian was already looking at her with narrowed eyes. Gu Nianji also jumped off the horse's back. Both of them were very agile and did not match the age of a teenage girl. Everyone around them was dumbfounded. However, they saw Gu Nianji take 2 steps toward Yun Jian. She laughed and said to Yun Jian, "I admit defeat. Yun Jian, from today onwards Gu Nianji will work for you. Will you take me in?" Chapter 1272. Yun Jian's words almost made Gu Nianji vomit blood. She had thought about it for a long time before coming to this decision. Gu Gu Yinji had already made up her mind when the horse race was about to begin. If Yin Jian could win against her, she would follow Yin Jian. After all, Gu Yinji's ability in Yulong mainland was not to be underestimated. What would she do if she could find someone who was stronger than her on Earth? What else could she do? Of course, she would cling on to her fiercely. She would not leave even if she was chased away to learn from her master. Haha, little captive, it looks like you can't escape. Qing Yu walked over from not far away and giggled. Actually, the starting point was also the ending point. Why was it so? Because starting from the starting point and running one round around the racetrack, one would still end up back at the starting point. At least the racetrack here was built similar to a school's field. The surrounding students all stood rooted to the ground. Other than Kai Lin's group of girls, everyone else was extremely impressed with Yin Jian. Especially Yin Jian's handsome appearance just now. It was exactly the style they wanted. Kai Lin frowned when she saw that her cousin Kai Yi did not catch up. She finally could not take it anymore. Now that she saw Yin Jian being admired by her classmates, she was even angrier. However, Kai Lin was smarter. She never showed her disgust towards others on her face. She heard Gu Yinji say that she wanted to follow Yin Jian just now. Here came the question. What did she want to do with Yin Jian? Seizing the opportunity to make things difficult for Yin Jian, Kai Lin immediately walked over. Congratulations on winning. You guys are amazing. Kai Lin said this first, then continued to speak to Yin Jian in front of everyone with a fake smile. What were you guys talking about just now? Why did you say that you want to follow you? What do you want to do? Hey, what you said just now made it sound like you want to mingle with the mafia. Just like the Secret Service assassins in the movies. Don't say that in the future. You two are girls after all. Don't be so careless. Fighting for first place with a boy is not something a girl should do. We girls should be gentle and quiet. Otherwise, you won't be able to get married in the future. Kai Lin changed her arrogant tone from before, where she thought Kai Yi would win without a doubt. She deliberately made herself look very calm, then walked up to Yin Jian and Yin Jian and loudly lectured them. The onlookers listened to Kai Lin's lecture. That seems to make sense. Therefore, a few girls followed Kai Lin's lead and responded. In the end, it was as if Yin Jian and Gu Yinji had snatched first place from Kai Yi and were in the wrong. Yin Jian sneered and said nothing. Kai Lin glanced at her and thought that Yin Jian was speechless because of her words, so Kai Lin smiled secretly. He thought to himself, haha, what Yin Jian? What advanced special forces? Does she really think she's a gangster? Especially the woman who competed with Yin Jian in horse racing. She even said that she wanted to work for Yin Jian. Did he think he was a gangster? Kai Lin hated the smug look on her face. Especially the way Gu Yinji spoke to Yin Jian. It was as if she was really going to do something big. Just as Kai Lin finished thinking this, 3 or 4 vans drove into the horse track. Then a group of masked men in black got out of the vans. Originally, everyone looked in that direction out of curiosity. Why were there so many strange people at the horse track? However, when this group of people got out of the vans and ran in front of everyone with all kinds of guns in their hands and surrounded them, Kai Lin and everyone else at the scene felt that something was wrong. It was also at this moment that a burly man who was 2 meters tall and had arms as thick as a copper wall stood in front of everyone. Chapter 1273. As the man spoke, he grabbed a machine gun and suddenly fired at the lawn not far in front of them. Guns, these are real guns. Initially Kai Lin, Qi Xiao, Lin Zihong, and the rest were only secretly afraid when these people appeared. After all, handguns were banned in Country Z. The appearance of a real gun and a toy gun could not be distinguished, but the bullets in a real gun were loaded with gunpowder. Toy guns could only hold a few toy bullets that were smaller than soybeans at most. They could not kill. Initially, Kai Lin and the rest thought that these men who appeared out of nowhere were just trying to show off by standing in front of them with toy guns. Although they did not know the motive of these men, Kai Lin and the rest were not afraid in the beginning. However, it wasn't until this burly man, who was 2 meters tall and had arms as thick as iron walls, stood in front of everyone, grabbed a machine gun, and started shooting at the empty ground. Only then did they realize what was going on. This was a gun. A real gun. The man frowned. Although the horse farm was surrounded by lawns, and there were no houses other than the straw hut that Uncle Zhang had built himself, these people were screaming in fear. But this group of people kept screaming in panic. If someone heard them, it would be troublesome, especially since they had not found their target. The man suddenly raised his voice. His face was covered by black gauze so they could not tell which country he was from. "I'll kill you all if you dare to speak again." As he spoke, the man grabbed the machine gun and fired at the ground again. Everyone, including Kai Lin, squatted down in fear, not daring to make a sound. These people were criminals. They had guns. They had guns in their hands. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Qing Yu, who was standing beside Yun Jian, wanted to intervene, but Yun Jian grabbed her hand. If she guessed correctly, the man who stood in front with the black gauze covering his face and speaking in Mandarin was actually a mature foreign man. He was the remnant force of the former Inferno Ring that had yet to be completely eradicated. He was even in cahoots with the mysterious person who had controlled people and killed Xiao Yunju in his previous life. He was the one who Tai Jinggang. This Tai Jinggang was the subordinate of the leader of the Inferno Ring, Job, who had been killed by Yun Jian. But in reality, Job was just a figurehead of the Inferno Ring. The Tai Jinggang's status was even higher than Job's. In other words, the Tai Jinggang was the mysterious man's subordinate. The truth was, Yun Jian's guess was right. The 2-meter-tall man standing in front of Yun Jian was Tai Jinggang. Tai Jinggang held the machine gun in his hand and glared at the group of people in front of him. After waiting for a while, no one stepped forward. Tai Jinggang was impatient. He held the machine gun tighter and shouted again. "SS, I know you're here. I'll give you 10 seconds. If you don't come out, I'll use the machine gun to kill everyone here." Tai Jinggang said fiercely. Kai Lin and Yun Jian's classmates, including Kai Yi Qi Xiao Xiao, Lin Zihang and the rest who had just returned from the racetrack, did not know what SS was. They did not even know what SS was. No, don't kill us. We really don't know what SS is. Which one of you is SS? Step forward, we don't want to die, sob sob sob. Some people had already started to cry out in despair. Tai Jinggang ignored them. He held the machine gun and started to count to 3. Just when everyone was about to pee their pants, a cold female voice, completely unfazed by the horrifying scene, said, "Tai Jinggang, how dare you look for me? Do you want me to kill you?" Surrounded by so many people led by Tai Jinggang, Yun Jian stood up fearlessly and spoke. However, when the surrounding students heard Yun Jian's words, they were almost scared to death. Yun Jian was the SS they were talking about? What did SS mean? And did she know what she was talking about? He had a gun in his hand. She actually dared to talk to him like that. Did she want to die? Chapter 1274. Tai Jinggang had only received information that SS was at the racecourse. This information was very accurate because it was revealed to Tai Jinggang by the mysterious person in Yun Jian's eyes. That was why Iron King Kong had brought his men here to kill the SS monster, so as to make a great contribution to the mysterious man. Tai Jinggang had thought that SS was at least in her 20s no matter how young she was. However, when Yun Jian stood up and spoke, Tai Jinggang turned his head and looked in her direction. He froze on the spot. The young girl in front of him had delicate features and a beautiful face that made him feel mesmerized from the bottom of his heart. That petite face, coupled with that perfect figure, was a perfect match for the golden ratio. The young girl in front of him was at most 15 or 16 years old, right? Underage. SS, it's actually a young girl who's still underage? How is this possible? Tai Jinggang was completely stunned. Kai Lin, Kai Yi, Uncle Zhang, Yun Jian's classmates were all dumbfounded as they stared at the scene in front of them with wide eyes. Putting aside what SS meant, the group of people in front of them were obviously criminals. In their hands, there were all kinds of guns that even some of the gun-loving boys present couldn't name. How dare Yun Jian speak to them in such a tone? Did she have a death wish? Just as everyone thought of this, They saw Yun Jian take 2 steps forward towards Tai Jinggang. Yun Jian's lips curled up. Her smile was shy, but it gave people a sense of danger. Even Tai Jinggang, who was holding a machine gun in his hand, couldn't help but take 2 steps back. This scene was clearly seen by everyone in the surroundings. This burly, 2-meter-tall man with a machine gun in his hand was actually afraid of Yun Jian, who didn't have anything in her hands? Was Yun Jian really that powerful? Although everyone in the class knew that Yun Jian was an advanced special forces soldier, they didn't believe in Yun Jian's age at all. Standing afar, Lin Zihong, who had wanted to kill Yun Jian when she overheard his conversation with Qi Xiaoxiao. He even wanted Qi Xiaoxiao to record his conversation, so that he could threaten Yun Jian in the end, shuddered. Even Tai Jinggang, who was holding a machine gun, was afraid of Yun Jian. Lin Zihong suddenly realized that his and Qi Xiaoxiao's delusions of dealing with Yun Jian was simply a pipe dream. At this moment, Yun Jian looked straight at Tai Jinggang. She wasn't afraid at all, and even crossed her arms lazily as she looked at Tai Jinggang and said, "You're amazing. You're able to find me." Her identity was sealed off from all corners of the world. It was harder for outsiders to find her than to reach the heavens. Tai Jinggang clenched his fists, the bones between his fingers cracking. Then, Tai Jinggang looked at Yun Jian and said in a slightly louder voice, "SS, you won't be able to escape today. I'll kill you right here and now." "Oh. Is that so? Are you sure you can kill me with these lousy guns of yours?" Yun Jian glanced at Tai Jinggang and Tai Jingang's men with all kinds of guns and chuckled. Tai Jingang's fists clenched tighter. Yes, Yun Jian never boasted. If slaying God, the top secret agent in the international secret agent ranking, could be killed by his men with guns, she would not be slaying God anymore. She should have given up her position a long time ago. "Sister Jian, you don't have to fight these people," Qingyu said faintly as she stepped out from the crowd's attention. As she spoke, she took out a few poisonous needles. She had soaked the needles in poisonous water. Once they pierced a person's skin, the person would die instantly. "You're Lady Femme Fatale." Tai Jinggang glanced at Qingyu with a frown and cried out. Qingyu's codename was Lady Femme Fatale. Her name in the underworld was terrifying due to her poison. These changes shocked Kai Lin, Kai Yi, and the others, but no one dared to make a sound at this moment. Lady Femme Fatale? What is us? Did they think that they were acting? They gave themselves another codename. Chapter 1275. What is us? What Femme Fatale? You guys must be acting, right? And the bullets from those guns don't have gunpowder or bullets, so they can't kill anyone, right? When one of the boys saw this, he suddenly shouted out in fear, just to comfort himself. Everything in front of him was fake. The people in front of him must be joking. None of this was real. He did not need to be afraid. The boy comforted himself. Acting? Pfft. I think I just heard the funniest joke. Tai Jinggang chuckled, redirecting his attention back to Tai Jinggang. Tai Jinggang was someone who was closely related to assassins and secret agents. At the same time, his ability was unlike those third-rate assassins. Yun Jian might look lazy, but she was actually paying attention to Tai Jinggang and everyone else's actions. Yun Jian was never conceited. Even if she looked extremely lazy on the outside, even if she was so confident that it was unbearable, even if she had to fight a beggar by the roadside, she would never underestimate anyone. No one could guarantee that the person standing in front of them was weak. However, if they did not have Yun Jian's mentality, showing their emotions on their face no matter who they were fighting, and letting their opponents realize that they were constantly on guard against their surroundings, such a person would definitely be a weakling. Not letting others see through one's inner thoughts was the most basic skill of a secret agent. Tai Jingang's every move was under Yun Jian's control. Yun Jian did not make a sound, but if one were to observe closely, they would see a flash of light in her eyes. "Kid, I'll let you have a taste of this bullet's power." Iron King Kong laughed maniacally. At the same time, he pointed his machine gun at the boy who had just said that everything was fake. If this bullet were to be fired, the boy's body would be turned into a beehive. Forget about surviving. It would be a problem if his corpse would even be intact. Although the boy felt that all of this was fake, he still trembled. Anyone who had a machine gun pointed at their body, even if it was a fake one, would still be afraid. However, just as the boy, including everyone present, was thinking about this, Tai Jinggang had already aimed the machine gun at the boy, and his finger was on the trigger. Ah! The people standing around instantly shouted. Everyone saw that the bullets fired by the Iron King Kong had a flash of fire. Even if it didn't kill anyone, it would definitely hurt them to death. In particular, the Tai Jinggang group's disguise made the surrounding people even more convinced that the guns in their hands were real. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Ah! Even the boy just now held his head and shouted. Hee hee, you dare to question me? Go to hell. Tai Jinggang didn't care about this. After he finished growling, his hand was already pulling the trigger. However, the crowd only heard half of Tai Jinggang's roar when a sharp female voice sounded. You want to kill someone in front of me? Dream on. Just as this voice sounded, everyone saw a small and delicate figure pass by in front of them. Within 3 breaths, Yun Jian's figure had already arrived in front of Tai Jinggang. She lifted her leg and kicked Tai Jinggang's wrist accurately. Tai Jinggang frowned. He had been stopped from shooting the boy, but Yun Jian hadn't kicked his wrist. Tai Jinggang took a big step back at the same time. Tai Jinggang's strength really couldn't be underestimated. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She changed her strategy and directly pounced on Tai Jinggang. However, just as she was about to reach Tai Jinggang, she turned to the right and kicked Tai Jinggang's waist from the side. Bang! This time, Tai Jinggang was kicked by Yun Jian and fell directly to the ground. However, after Tai Jinggang was kicked to the ground, he rolled twice on the ground and stood up in the next second. If someone else had been kicked by Yun Jian, they definitely wouldn't be able to stand up within half an hour. Tai Jinggang was indeed powerful. He turned over and stood up a second after being kicked. Yun Jian stood in the same place. She curled her lips and sneered at Tai Jinggang. You can survive one move from me. You're really powerful. Chapter 1276. Her younger brother's death in her previous life was fatally related to the Tai Jinggang in front of her. Tai Jinggang was the culprit, the subordinate of the mysterious person. Even if Tai Jinggang did not come today, Yun Jian would have been searching for Tai Jinggang. Now that Tai Jinggang had come knocking on her door, there was no way he could leave this place alive. Sister Jian, you don't have to do anything with these people's capabilities. Qingyu came up with a pair of poison needles in each of her fingers. Qingyu went to Tai Jinggang with the needles. Not only Tai Jinggang, even the men standing beside Tai Jinggang flinched and took 2 steps back. It was not that they were cowards. It was just that Qingyu's capability was too frightening. Qingyu's combat ability was not strong, but no one in the world would dare claim to be the best if she claimed to be the second best at poisoning. Who had not heard of the Venom Lady? The codename of Lady Venom was Qingyu's moniker after she had killed countless international bosses and presidents of some countries without a sound back, then due to her horrifying poison skills. Who would not be afraid of the Venom Lady's nickname internationally? Capture one alive, wipe out the rest. After that, she crossed her arms and spoke to Qingyu nonchalantly, looking at the group before her. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Understood. Qingyu accepted the order and put the needles away with a flip of her hand before taking out a pair of transparent gloves from her pocket. The gloves were about the same thickness as the plastic wrap, and they looked almost the same. In spite of it, their function was completely different. Qingyu's transparent gloves were made by herself. She could hold any poison she made directly when she wore them. As long as she wore this pair of gloves, she could completely defend herself against poisons that could be fatal if they came into contact with her skin. Qingyu put the gloves on and took out the needles again with a flip of her hand. Holding them in her hand, she walked toward Tai Jinggang and his men. Secret agents, assassins, mercenaries and special forces who had reached a certain level of capability could dodge bullets. Therefore, Tai Jinggang knew that their guns were completely useless against Qingyu and Yun Jian. Qingyu, you dummy. Don't go alone. I haven't fought in a long time. Wait for me. Gu Nianji was moving her limbs now, her bones cracking loudly. Gu Nianji walked over as she did so. Seeing that Qing Yu and Gu Nianji were attacking, Yun Jian stood aside and did not plan to attack. Little captive, what are you doing here? Qing Yu, on the other hand, did not care about Iron King Kong's group at all. She even turned to joke with Gu Nianji. In reality, although Qing Yu had turned to look at Gu Nianji, she was glaring at Iron King Kong, and the rest from the corner of her eyes. F***ck me Qing Yu, if you dare call me little captive again I'll. Gu Nianji pouted, but before she could finish her sentence, Qing Yu interrupted her. Bang! 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 A series of gunshots rang out. Yun Jian had already noticed it, but she did not say anything. On the other end, Tai Jingang's men who were standing beside him were falling one after another. Tai Jingang did not even realize what was happening. Ce, who was standing far away, had already seen Yun Jian. He frowned slightly. Lin Wei was leading in Hun's assassins to snipe Tai Jingang's men from afar, while Ce walked toward Yun Jian in the rain of bullets. Chapter 1277. Yun Jian had only said it casually, but Uncle Zhang and all of Yun Jian's classmates were so frightened that they quickly looked for trash cans or other defensive places to hide. The boy who was saved by Yun Jian earlier looked at Yun Jian gratefully and was the first to find a place to hide. What the boy did not know was that Yun Jian had not stepped forward to save him because she cared about his life or death. When she said, "Dream on if you want to kill someone in front of me," everyone present, including Tai Jingang, thought that Yun Jian was protecting them. As a secret agent and assassin, she was not a saint. There was no need for her to protect anyone. Yun Jian would not care even if the boy died in front of her. However, Yun Jian had made a move just now. If one were to ask why, the reason was simple. Yun Jian had only wanted to test Tai Jingang's ability. Yun Jian would never underestimate a powerful enemy. Under such circumstances, it was only natural for her to test the opponent's ability. Saving the boy earlier was a piece of cake. In reality, Yun Jian's real intention was only to test Tai Jingang's ability. If she could test a person's ability before making a move, it would be easier for Yun Jian to kill Tai Jingang in one move. As her soul returned to reality, Yun Jian was already rushing toward Tai Jingang. Qing Yu and Gu Nianji were only surprised for a moment before they followed Yun Jian's pace and dashed over. Lin Wei was still leading in Hun's assassins to snipe Tai Jingang's underlings from afar. As a result, Tai Jingang and his men were sandwiched in the middle by Yun Jian and Si Yi's men. They were attacked from the front and back. Damn it! Kill! Kill! Tai Jingang finally reacted. More than half of his men had already been killed by Lin Wei and the Hun's assassins. Naturally, Lin Wei's strength was not to be underestimated. He led the assassins to snipe Tai Jingang's group from afar, and they were simply able to kill them one by one. Kai Lin, Kai Yi, Qi Xiao, Lin Zihang, and the others who were hiding in the trash can or hiding in various places were all pale with fright as they watched the people collapse one by one. This was beyond the limits of the black market. This was a battle of life and death. Life and death were only separated by a single thought. As long as he wasn't strong enough, 1 second was enough. 1 second was enough to take a life. Just as she was thinking about this, Kai Lin suddenly felt a small figure flash before her eyes. Yun Jian led Qing Yu and Gu Nianji into the chaotic battle, without the slightest fear of being accidentally killed by Lin Wei and Hun's assassins. At the time, Kai Lin had even mocked Gu Nianji by saying that she was working for Yun Jian. She made it sound like she was a gangster. At this moment, Kai Lin felt that her face was burning, as if she had been slapped hard in the face. Kai Lin's expression was terrible. However, it was also at this moment that she saw Yun Jian killing one of Tai Jingang's underlings in a few moves after charging into the crowd. Then she went straight to Tai Jingang. At the same time, Yun Jian held a butterfly knife in her hand. The blade of this butterfly knife was made from the god-vanquishing blade. It could kill everything in the world, even the gods of deity continent. Yun Jian held the butterfly knife and stood in front of Tai Jinggang. Tai Jinggang was ready to retreat, but when he saw the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand, Tai Jingang's eyes widened, and he screamed in horror. Duh! God-vanquishing blade! Yun Jian, be careful. He's from Yulong mainland. Gu Nianji looked at Tai Jinggang and suddenly shouted at Yun Jian with widened eyes. Tai Jinggang reacted in the next second and realized that things were not as simple as he thought. Therefore, Tai Jinggang risked not being able to cultivate for 100 years and directly used the spiritual power of Yulong mainland on earth. What is that? The people standing in the distance saw this and were so scared that their faces turned pale. In the next second, Yun Jian's voice sounded, "You've lost." Her voice was cold as if there was no warmth at all. However, when Yun Jian came within 3 meters of Tai Jinggang, the spiritual power that Tai Jinggang had just used was instantly broken. He instantly became an ordinary person. Pfft! In the next breath, the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand had already pierced Tai Jingang's heart. There was only one person in the world who could make someone from Yulong mainland lose their spiritual power within 3 meters of them. Witch? You're the witch goddess. Before he could say the word Lord, Tai Jinggang saw Yun Jian smile coldly and say the last words that Tai Jinggang heard in this world before he died. I said you've lost. With that, Yun Jian withdrew the butterfly knife. Chapter 1278. With Tai Jinggang dead, Tai Jingang's underlings were defeated instantly, especially with Lin Wei leading in Hun's ambush from afar. With Qing Yu and Gu Nianji's help nearby, Tai Jingang's underlings were all dead in no time. Of course, following Yun Jian's initial wishes, Tai Jingang's underlings were all killed, leaving only one alive. Lin Wei and Shuang from afar rushed over within Hun's assassins. Watching Tai Jinggang being killed by Yun Jian just like that, Kai Lin and the rest who were standing afar saw Tai Jinggang use the spiritual power of Yulong mainland before he died. Tai Jingang's hand suddenly emitted a strong light, but he was killed by Yun Jian before the light could be released. Therefore, the people from afar only thought that Tai Jinggang had taken out something like a flashlight. After all, they were standing afar, and no one would have thought that Tai Jinggang came from Yulong mainland. This was because they did not even know of Yulong mainland's existence. This was an era where people believed in science. If they were to believe in another world, they would not believe in it unless they had truly seen and experienced it. That group of people, seeing Lin Wei and Shuang leading in Hun's assassins from afar, Kai Lin and the rest were still trembling in fear, not daring to come out. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini, and Ling Yichen had seen more terrifying scenes than this. Although they did not ask Yun Jian directly, the three of them knew that Yun Jian was not a simple person. Moreover, Yun Jian knew some international figures. Especially when they saw Ce, Zhang Xiaofeng, and the rest understood immediately. Zhang Xiaofeng and the other two knew that Ce was Yun Jian's boyfriend. So Zhang Xiaofeng and the other two walked out when they saw that Tai Jinggang and the others were dead. In the distance, Kai Lin and the others were scared out of their wits when they saw the corpses of Tai Jinggang and the others. How would they dare to come over? While Yun Jian remained where she was, Ce came up to her and grabbed Yun Jian's hand. Xiao Jian, why didn't you tell me you're here? With that, Ce pulled Yun Jian into his embrace. He didn't care that Yun Jian's classmates were still watching from afar. He only had eyes for Yun Jian. It's a class reunion. We're here to ride a horse. Yun Jian pursed her red lips and explained. Ce smirked. As long as he saw Yun Jian, all his anxiety was gone. Ce answered softly. Young madam, young master, I've kidnapped him. As Shuang spoke, he tossed Tai Jingang's underling who was intentionally spared to Yun Jian and Ce. Shuang purposely put Yun Jian in front when he addressed her, because he knew that the young madam's current status was even higher than the young master's. If the young madam wanted the young master to kneel and sing conquer, the young master would not reject her. Shuang thought that he should suck up to Yun Jian and beg Yun Jian to let the young master sing conquer for them. Bring him back first and clean up the scene, Ce told Shuang. With that, he caressed Yun Jian's head affectionately. Qi Xiaoxiao, who was watching from afar, was envious of the gesture. Although Lin Zihang was good-looking, he was not on the same level as Ce. But it was a pity that Lin Zihang was definitely richer than this good-looking guy. Just as she was thinking about this, Ce had already pulled Yun Jian's hand and walked out of the racecourse. When Chen Sini saw this, she wanted to follow but was stopped by Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen with evil smiles on their faces. After Shuaying agreed, he walked towards the crowd that was hiding in various places. After a pause, Shuaying asked, "Who's in charge of the racecourse?" At this moment, Uncle Zhang stepped forward timidly. Chapter 1279. Uncle Zhang took the card from Shui Ying's hand in a fluster and heard Shui Ying's words. Compared to the dead Tai Jin gang, the appearance of Shui Ying, Lin Wei, and the rest was more frightening, because they had guns in their hands. More importantly, they were more powerful than Tai Jin gang. Most importantly, Tai Jin gang was so powerful. He was actually killed by Yun Jian from their class. He was actually killed by Killing God from the Advanced Special Forces. In the past, they had only heard of Killing God's prestige, but today, everyone present had witnessed Killing God's ability. That was beyond what a person should be capable of. What Shuang said at the end made everyone present even more stunned. 10 million USD? 10 million USD for hush money? Did his family own a bank? How could he give out 10 million USD at once? USD. The surrounding students were all stunned. Qi Xiaoxiao's eyes widened in shock. Shui Ying was the subordinate of the handsome man just now. Even if it was his subordinate, the hush money would be 10 million US dollars. Her boyfriend Lin Zihang's total assets were at most 1/10 of 10 million USD. Qi Xiaoxiao recalled how she had bragged about bringing Lin Zihang to Yun Jian and the rest, and felt that she had been stupid back then. Her boyfriend gave 10 million USD as hush money. What about her boyfriend? Qi Xiaoxiao instantly despised Lin Zihang. After Uncle Zhang accepted the 10 million USD, Shui Ying's sharp eyes scanned the scene. Although he was handsome and cheerful, the deep scar on his neck made him look ferocious. Therefore, the people standing around didn't dare to step forward. Shuang smiled ferociously and purposely made the people around him shudder. Then, he fiddled with the gun in his hand and said, "Today, I was planning to kill all of you." Hearing Shui Ying's words and recalling the massacre just now, everyone trembled. "However, on account of young madam, I won't kill you. But remember, if anyone dares to say a word about what happened today," Shuang continued. Before he could finish his sentence, the sound of a gunshot reverberated through the sky. Shuang grabbed a pistol and fired a shot into the sky without even looking. After that, Shuang curled his lips. This is the outcome. According to Hun's rules, they were supposed to kill all the witnesses. However, if all of Yun Jian's classmates were killed, it would definitely cause a commotion in Longmen City. Initially, it would not affect Hun group at all whether it caused a commotion or not. But the problem was that Yun Jian was still living in Longmen City. Yun Jian's family had settled down in Longmen City as well. At this moment, Yun Jian had already been dragged to the Lamborghini by Ce. "Aren't we going to wait for them?" Yun Jian asked softly as Ce dragged her to the Lamborghini. After asking, she paused for a moment before continuing. "Wait a moment, I'll go say goodbye to Cindy." As Yun Jian spoke, she wanted to let go of Ce's hand that was holding her. Being around Ce made her blush and her heart race. "No need to say goodbye. Shuang will do it for you." Ce did not loosen his grip on Yun Jian's hand. In the next second, he pulled her into the passenger seat of the Lamborghini and drove Yun Jian back to Gu Yunjian's house. Yun Jian blinked and caught a glimpse of Ce's mesmerizing face from the corner of her eye. A small smile spread across her face. Just as Yun Jian smiled at Ce, she heard him say, "You're going to the International Underground Tea Party in 3 days." It was not a question, it was an affirmation. Yun Jian was stunned. She remembered that she had not told Ce that she was going to the tea party. In spite of it, Yun Jian nodded. She knew that Ce had never attended such places. Shuang had always been the one to attend any of Hun group's events. Ce had never shown his face. Having known CE for so long, Yunjian could roughly guess that he did not like to attend such events. That was why she did not tell CE back then. She thought that CE would not go. Chapter 1280. Yunjian knew that CE didn't like to attend such grand events, so she didn't ask him to come along. When she heard CE's last sentence, Yunjian felt a warmth in her heart. She was silent for 2 seconds before she said to CE, "I know you don't like to go to such events, so you don't have to deliberately accompany me." She knew that CE didn't like such events, so Yunjian didn't want CE to do something he didn't like. She was very clear about her feelings now. She could even say out loud that she liked him. She liked him a lot. It was also because of this that Yunjian didn't want CE to forcefully accompany her to places he didn't want to go. If CE didn't mean anything to her, Yunjian wouldn't have said such things. In Yunjian's heart, she actually wanted CE to attend the event with her. Yunjian's gaze was fixed in front of her. The car was moving forward slowly. The windows were closed, and the interior of the car was cold. After she said this, she didn't hear CE's voice for a long time. Yunjian paused. She was about to turn to look at CE. Screech! There was an emergency braking sound. Yunjian's eyes met the car's. In the next moment, the car came to a stop along the road like a flash of lightning. This was done in a single night. In the next moment, Yunjian felt herself being embraced by a firm chest. Yunjian was stunned for 2 seconds as she felt this firm chest embrace her. CE suddenly reached out from the driver's seat and half-hugged Yunjian. His fresh and pleasant scent wafted into Yunjian's nose. Yunjian subconsciously reached out to hug him back. She only felt a warmth in her heart. This strange and touching heartbeat sounded again. At this moment, CE's magnetic voice came from above Yunjian's head. "No matter how much I dislike the occasion, as long as I'm with you, I like it." He didn't shout these words loudly, nor did he act like a teenage boy and girl who wanted everyone to know about their sweetness. CE only spoke his truest thoughts in the right place, in the right situation. Just like that, like a normal conversation. However, it was CE's truest thoughts that made Yunjian's heart thump. Yunjian's heart trembled slightly. She could feel her heart beating wildly. What CE said made her heart flutter. Or perhaps she was touched. "You" was all Yunjian could say before she was rendered speechless. After a few seconds of silence, she asked a rather dumb question. "Why are you so nice to me?" This question was rather stupid. Perhaps it was because Yunjian didn't know what to say at this moment. So her brain short-circuited, and she asked such a question. Yunjian regretted it the moment she finished speaking. Was she stupid or something? How could she ask such a stupid question? However, just as Yunjian asked this question, CE suddenly reached out and placed his hand on the back of Yunjian's head. With one hand on the back of Yunjian's head, he lowered his head. Yunjian could only feel an overwhelming kiss coming down on her. Her lips were suddenly blocked by an ice-cold pair of handsome lips. His handsome lips didn't linger on Yunjian's lips for too long. It was almost like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water against Yunjian's lips. Then, Yunjian saw CE's fair and flawless handsome face. Chapter 1281. CE's words were easily misunderstood, and Yunjian's cheeks flushed instantly. "Drive. My mom made dumplings. Let's go home for dinner." Yunjian gave the playful CE a shove. She had tacitly agreed to let CE accompany her to the tea party. Moreover, there was a hint of womanly vibe in her tone when she said that. It tickled CE's heart again. The woman he had been longing for was right in front of him, but all he could do was watch and drink, without getting to know her better. It was a really suffocating feeling. Whenever CE recalled how Emo's son had interrupted his and Yunjian's moment back in Yulong mainland, CE would feel suffocated. Yunjian, who sat beside CE, waved her hand gently in front of CE's eyes, and said with a press of lips, "Let's drive. My mom said this morning that we should go home for dumplings." Qingyiru called everyone to her house, planning to make a pot of dumplings tonight, and have dinner together as a group. Gujunjian happened to be here today as well. It was only then that CE reluctantly shifted his gaze away from Yunjian, and gripped the steering wheel, to start the sports car's engine. Home. As for his Xiao Jian, there was still a long way to go. One day, he would get to know her better. Gu Yunjian's house. Qin Yiru was extremely busy. Without Lan Su's help, Qin Yiru had no helper as well. When Lan Su was still around, Lan Su would often follow Qin Yiru around and let Qin Yiru teach her all sorts of things. For example, making dumplings. There were a lot of dumplings to be made tonight. With Lan Su's help in the past, Qin Yiru was always faster. Today, it was basically Qin Yiru cutting the celery and meat fillings herself before wrapping the dumplings. Si Luo was already at Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's house. Shuang had sent her over. She sat alone in the living room, looking a little scared. The water in the kitchen was boiling and Qin Yiru could not pull her hands away. So she asked Si Luo, who was sitting in the living room, gently, Girl, can you do me a favor?" Si Luo looked over when she saw that Qin Yiru was calling her, and nodded at Qin Yiru submissively. "Can you help me pour the boiling water into the kettle?" Qin Yiru smiled at Si Luo, her hands never stopping working. Si Luo ran over to help when she. By the time Yun Jian and Si got home, Shui Ying and Lin Wei were already back. Mo's son, who had gone out for a walk, came back as well. Qin Yu, Gu Ninji, Yun Yi, and the rest were all home. Qin Yiru had set up a huge round table for everyone to sit at. Xiao Yunju, Gu Ninji, and Gu Junjian were already seated at the round table. Just as Yun Jian and Ce sat down, Qin Yiru brought out bowls of dumplings from the kitchen and placed them in front of their seats. "Be careful, it's hot. Eat slowly." Qin Yiru smiled and walked to the kitchen. Qin Yiru had just turned around when Shuang called out to her, "Auntie, where's Si Luo? Why don't I see her?" Shuang had arranged for Si Luo to stay at Qin Yiru's house in the afternoon, so she naturally had to ask now that she was nowhere to be seen. "That good child. She's helping me in the kitchen. It's all thanks to her this afternoon. Or else I wouldn't have been able to handle it alone. Si Luo is such a good child. Look, the good child is here," Qin Yiru said happily, and even pointed at the girl who was walking over from afar. Si Luo carried a bowl of dumplings and placed it in front of Shuang. She then took 2 steps back. "This child's background is quite pitiful. Both her parents are dead. Why don't we let this child follow me from now on? I'm bored at home anyway, so this child can have a home. What do you think?" Qin Yiru said what she had thought of earlier. Chapter 1282. The meaning behind that statement was self-explanatory. Qin Yiru understood at once and told Shui Ying with a sudden realization. Okay, Auntie understands." Qin Yiru snickered as she spoke. "Actually, I don't have to trouble you." Si Luo was still a little afraid of Shui Ying, so she spoke up. As she spoke, Si Luo recalled Shui Ying's sudden disapproval when she wanted to stay with Qin Yu. Si Luo turned to Yun Jian immediately and asked Yun Jian for help. "Can I stay at your house?" Si Luo did not know that Yun Jian was not staying at Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's house. She only knew that Yun Jian had the final say here. She was dragged away by Shuang before she could ask for help the last time. She did not want to stay with Shuang anymore because he was too scary, especially that scar on his neck. "You can ask him. If he agrees, I don't mind." Yun Jian smirked and hinted at Shuang before speaking to Si Luo. Asking Shuang to agree? Wasn't that the same as not asking at all? Si Luo paused. She was a girl, so why could she not stay with Qin Yu? Si Luo could not understand. "Don't even think about it." As expected, Shuang dismissed Si Luo's idea decisively. The reunion dinner was very, very enjoyable. Only Si Luo pouted, but she had a great time eating as well. Halfway through the meal, Gu Junjian told Yun Jian, "Get ready. You'll have to pack up and report to the military school in 2 days." Yun Jian looked up when she heard Gu Junjian, but Gu Junjian continued to explain. Freshmen in the military school start at a different time from regular high schools. Freshmen in regular high schools usually report to school a week earlier and go through a week of military training. However, the military school's military training lasts for a month, so you have to report to school in early August. You'll be in the military school for the next month, Then you'll start classes like regular high schools in September. Gu Junjian explained to Yin Jian in detail. Gu Junjian then turned to Ce. Ae, since you're enrolled in the military school, you're in your senior year, and you don't have to go through military training. That's because the military school is closed, which means that you can't visit her during the month of military training. These matters had to be handled according to the military school's rules. Even if Ce's identity was extraordinary, Gu Junjian meant that Ce had to bear with it for a month without seeing Yin Jian, since he had said it out loud. Okay. Ce agreed without hesitation. He had agreed to it directly, because he wanted to see Xiao Jian. Who could stop him? Gu Junjian meant that he could not meet Xiao Jian openly. Who could stop him from seeing her secretly? Got it. Yin Jian nodded. Yin Jian's skills were improving in actual combat, but she knew that she was still not strong enough. She was not as capable as she was in her past life, but she was not far from it. Yin Jian would not let go of any chance to improve her skills. Military training was excruciating to others, but to her, it was something she could not ask for more. Dinner was over quickly, and Qin Yiru cleared the table quickly. Si Luo helped to clean up the table the entire time. Si Luo was a deaf girl. After the meal, everyone went back to their own homes. The tea party was held 3 days later, so Yin Jian planned to depart early the next morning. At night, Shuang pulled Si Luo back to his place with a grim expression. Chapter 1283. Before Si Luo could finish her sentence, Shuang interrupted her. Are you afraid of me? As Shuang spoke, he took a step closer to her and spoke in a muffled voice. Shuang felt very anxious now. He really wanted to grab this stupid woman and give her a good scolding, but he couldn't bear to do it. Si Luo saw Shuang take another step closer to her, and she took another step back in fear. Then, her hands hung by the sides of her pants. She shrank her head and glanced at the ground beside her. I'm not. You're not. Shuang repeated. At the same time, he stood in front of Si Luo again. Shuang reached out and pinched Si Luo's chin, forcing her to look at him. At this moment, Shuang was already standing next to Si Luo. Shuang could even smell the mint fragrance coming from her body. Si Luo was about to cry. She was really afraid of Shuang, especially the long scar on Shuang's neck. What kind of injury could leave such a deep scar on his face? Look at me. If you're not afraid of me, then look at me and tell me that you're not afraid of me. Shuang pinched Si Luo's chin and forced her to look at him. He was a little impatient, but he didn't want to hurt her, so he pretended to be fierce and shouted. Sob sob I. Si Luo was frightened by the snow eagle's aura. She shuddered then shrank back. Shuang got angrier the more he looked at her, especially when he smelled the minty scent on Si Luo's body. He then looked at Si Luo's beautiful eyes with long eyelashes. Shuang reached out his free hand. It looked as if he wanted to slap her. Si Luo suddenly remembered that she was beaten up when she was begging. She shrank back in fear and closed her eyes. Tears even came out of her eyes as she screamed. Ah! Don't hit me, please don't hit me. I'll be good, boo-hoo. Shuang was stunned by Si Luo's reaction. After he recovered from his shock, he reached out his free hand and pressed the back of Si Luo's head, pulling her head towards him. In the next second, Shuang kissed Si Luo on the lips. Si Luo thought that Shuang was going to hit her, but he actually kissed her. Si Luo's eyes widened. Si Luo was dumbfounded. Shuang didn't kiss her for too long. After he kissed her, he immediately realized his mistake, so he quickly moved his lips away. Shuang punched the wall next to Si Luo as he recalled what he had just done. The hand slammed down hard, and even the white powder on the wall fell down. Si Luo shrank back in fear and covered her face with her hands. Si Luo only opened her eyes when she didn't hear anything after a while. She then saw Shuang looking at her with his dark eyes. She shrunk her neck, trembling. At this moment, Si Luo could see the scar on Shuang's neck up close. Those were terrifying scars intertwined together, revealing a huge scar. Just looking at it from such a close distance was enough to frighten people. Si Luo shrank back again, and her hand couldn't help but caress the terrifying scar on Shuang's neck. Si Luo was scared to death. She wanted to hide in fear. But when she saw the terrifying scar on Shui Ying's neck, she couldn't help but feel sorry for him. Does it hurt? Si Luo asked. Her face was filled with sadness. Si Luo was a very pure girl. She didn't even know what it meant when Shuang licked her lips a few times. Shuang immediately grabbed Si Luo's wrist when he heard what she said. He curled his lips and smiled at her. Are you worried about me? No, If your family saw you injured like this, they would be very sad. Si Luo frowned as she looked at the scar on Shui Ying's neck. He must have been in a lot of pain when he was injured so deeply. I don't have any family. Shui Ying's expression changed at the mention of family. As he spoke, he didn't stop what he was doing, but his expression became more ferocious. If it weren't for this deep scar, Shui Ying's looks would only be slightly less handsome than Si Yi's. After a pause, Shuang said harshly, if it weren't for my family and name, I wouldn't have this scar and been ridiculed since I was young. Shui Ying's words were harsh, but they touched Si Luo's heart. Tears streamed down Si Luo's face when she heard what Shuang said. Chapter 1284. Si Luo started crying without warning after hearing Shui Ying's words. Shuang panicked when he saw that. He hurriedly wiped Si Luo's tears away. To be honest, it was Shui Ying's first time wiping away a girl's tears. He used to hate girls who cried so easily. However, Si Luo gave him a different feeling. For some reason, Shuang panicked when he saw Si Luo's tears. It was as if something precious to him was crying. Furthermore, the girl's minty scent wafted into his nose. Shuang felt like he was going to be possessed. Shuang couldn't help but reach out to remove Si Luo's hand that was rubbing his eyes. He used his other hand to gently wipe away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Shuang panicked when he saw Si Luo's tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Shui Ying's question made Si Luo cry even harder. Si Luo wanted to hold back her tears, but she couldn't no matter how hard she tried. She sobbed to Shuang. Why are you so pitiful? Don't your family want you anymore? Was your injury caused by them? It must hurt a lot, right? As Si Luo spoke, she reached out her delicate hand and gently placed it on Shui Ying's neck. Although she was afraid of the frightening scar on his neck, she still held back her tears as she asked, What's wrong with you? Si Luo wasn't faking it. A truly sad person's eyes couldn't be so pure. It was Shui Ying's first time seeing such a crybaby girl. At first, she was afraid of him and wanted to shrink away. She didn't want to go home with him and wanted to cry. Now that she had heard a bit of her tragic past, she couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Shuang didn't know how to comfort her. He hugged Si Luo in his arms and gently stroked Si Luo's back. It doesn't hurt anymore. Don't cry. Si Luo's heart skipped a beat when Shuang suddenly hugged her. She really stopped crying. However, this feeling was new to her. Si Luo had never gone to school. She was adopted by her foster parents since she was young and was locked up at home to do manual labor. No one taught her, so she didn't even know the difference between boys and girls. But at this moment, Si Luo stopped crying. She raised her hand, but didn't know where to put it. She stood rooted to the ground, stunned. No one had ever hugged her like this since she was young. When she was young, everyone would only beat her and scold her. Regardless of whether it was the children or the adults, they all despised her. They said that she often did manual labor, was dirty, and had bacteria all over her body. No one was even willing to approach her. Si Luo was completely stunned. Shuang had never thought that he would actually hug her. But the faint scent of mint wafted from the girl's body, and Shuang couldn't bear to let go. No one knew what was happening here. At this moment, Yun Jian and Si Yi were sleeping on the same bed, but nothing happened. With the person he loved sleeping beside him, Si Yi only touched Yun Jian for a while, but did not do anything excessive. Yun Jian and Si Yi went to bed early because they were preparing to leave for the tea party the next day. Yun Jian and Si Yi woke up early the next morning. Qingyu was going to go with Yun Jian as well. Gun Yinji was left behind in Longmen City by Qingyu. As for Lin Wei and Mo Sun, they were sent back to an Hun group by Si Yi. Shuang went with Si Yi. Yun Jian had just woken up when Yuni called her to the garden outside the villa. Yun Jian knew that Yun Yi had come, because Qing Yu was going on a long trip with her. As expected, Yun Yi looked at Yun Jian and asked, Xiao Jian, where are you guys going? Yun Jian only said that she was going out, but did not say where. Yun Jian's gaze dimmed. She blinked at Yun Yi, but did not elaborate. Go, we'll be back soon. Xiao Jian. Yun Yi suddenly cut Yun Jian off. He was silent for a while and hesitated. Chapter 1285. Yun Yi thought about it for a long time, before he finally decided to ask the question. He had been wanting to ask for a long time about whether Yun Jian was his biological sister. It had been almost a year. It had been almost a year since his little sister had changed until today. What was his sister like in the past? She was timid, weak, and useless. But what about his sister now? Her brilliance was dazzling and her ability was terrifying. Even everything that happened after that. In the beginning, Yun Yi thought that his sister had changed, and that she was just hiding her timid and weak personality. However, Yun Jian's actions later made Yun Yi deeply suspicious. However, because Yun Jian's appearance did not change, Yun Yi did not have any suspicions at first. However, until today, they had been together for almost a year. No matter how much a person's personality changed, it was impossible for it to change so drastically. Initially, Yun Yi wanted to wait for Yun Jian to tell him herself. However, he could not wait any longer. Yun Jian was stunned by Yun Yi's sudden question. Looking at Yun Yi's questioning gaze, Yun Jian pursed her lips. She had never hidden herself in front of Yun Yi and Qin Yiru, because Yun Jian did not plan to do so from the beginning. As long as Yun Yi and Qin Yiru asked her, she planned to tell Yun Yi the truth. However, looking at Yun Yi's nervous face, Yun Jian felt that she was wrong. Perhaps she did not really see Yun Yi and Qin Yiru as her family in the beginning, so she was not afraid in the beginning. She even thought that if her identity as Yun Jian was not exposed, she could just leave. Slaying God had always been a homeless person who could live anywhere she wanted. She lived a carefree life and was never tied down by the world. However, Yun Jian had never thought that she would be tied down by the word family with Yun Yi and Qin Yiru. Therefore, the more she did not want to say that she was not Yun Jian. However, when the day came, Yun Yi still asked. Yun Jian lowered her eyes. Finally, under Yun Yi's questioning, she looked up and said to Yun Yi openly, Yes, I'm not your biological sister, Yun Jian. She did not plan to lie again. If Yun Yi found out and hated her, if Yun Yi found out and told Qin Yiru the truth and chased her away, she would leave with Xiao Yunju immediately. She, Yun Jian, was not someone who could not let go. Seeing Yun Jian confess so openly, Yun Yi felt like he was struck by lightning. He was stupefied. Even when he was mentally prepared when he asked the question, he was still stupefied when he actually heard it. You're not Xiao Jian. Then where did my real sister go? Why are you here? To replace my sister's identity? Yun Yi asked a series of questions. Yun Yi paused in the end, and his voice sounded calm, but if one were to listen closely, one could hear the raspiness and uncontrollable tremor in Yun Yi's voice. There was a pause before Yun Yi asked the last question. Then, who are you? Yun Yi's emotions were like a roller coaster right now. His heart was clenched tightly. He had grown up with his little sister, and he had become a completely different person. Those who had never experienced this would not be able to understand this feeling. Chapter 1286. Yun Jian opened her mouth. Every word that came out of her mouth made Yun Yi tremble violently. At this moment, Yun Jian paused for a moment before she continued. Yes, I'm not your biological sister. I'm an underground agent who kills without batting an eyelid. The person standing in front of you is not your biological sister, nor is she some spoiled daughter of a rich family. She's just an underground agent who stepped on countless corpses and barely managed to survive through life and death situations. She's the top wanted criminal of the 3S level Interpol. At the end of her speech, Yun Jian even used an outsider's tone to tell Yun Yi her identity in full detail. No one knew better than herself how much ability and courage it took to survive in an assassin organization like an Hun. She wished so much that she was just an ordinary junior high school student, with a brother who doted on her, just like Yin-yi, and a mother who loved her, just like Chin-yiru. Outsiders respected her, only because they saw her strength. But to be honest, she didn't even have the right to choose whether to live or die back then. She couldn't be like an ordinary junior high school student, who could decide her future through exams like middle school and college entrance exams. She also couldn't be like an ordinary student, who could choose her future career after finishing high school and college. Yun Jian had lived in a world of swords and blood since she was young. She didn't have the right to choose her career. She didn't even have the right to choose whether to live or die. She could only rely on her own two hands. She could only use her own two hands to kill everyone who stood in her way, and then fight for the right to live. This was her life, and also her childhood. Outsiders only saw their glamorous, cool, and terrifying killing skills. But who could have seen how she had survived the massacre? So after she was reborn, she came to an ordinary living environment, an ordinary family, and an ordinary school life. She was greedy, just like how many people who didn't know her world wanted to explore her world and her living environment. She also wanted to experience the life of an ordinary person. When Yun Jian said that she was an agent of an international underground organization, Yin Yi's heart trembled. He didn't expect that the person in front of him wasn't his sister, but such a terrifying existence in the world. But after listening to Yun Jian's words, Yin Yi could even feel the loneliness in Yun Jian's words. She had no one to rely on, and no one to rely on. To Yun Yi, the memories of a year with Yun Jian were more than 10 years' worth of memories with him and his sister. Even after knowing the truth, Yin Yi still felt that Yun Jian was his biological sister. He clenched his fists, but Yun Jian was already speaking to him in a normal tone. When I woke up, I possessed your sister's body. I don't know whether your sister is still alive or not, and I don't know where she went, but I can guarantee with my integrity that I have never harmed you or Mom. Yun Jian's words touched Yun Yi's heart. Yun Yi shook his head abruptly and quickly told Yun Jian, No, Xiao Jian. I'm not afraid that you'll hurt me and Mom. I just want to know the truth. Yun Yi paused before he told Yun Jian seriously, Xiao Jian, whether you're my biological sister or not, I've already treated you as one in my heart. Chapter 1287. Yun Yi's words touched Yun Jian. It was an experience she had never experienced before. Yun Jian nodded heavily looking at Yun Yi. She did not expect Yun Yi to say something so touching. Yun Jian never shed tears, but there was a glint at the corner of her eyes now. Of course, it was just a flash. No matter how shaken Yun Jian was, she would never shed tears in front of others. Alright Xiao Jian, aren't you guys going somewhere? You should leave now. Yun Yi was no longer as hesitant as before now that everything was out in the open. Although his younger sister's whereabouts were unknown, there was nothing he could do. So he let it go, but he would never give up. When Yun Jian saw Yun Yi suddenly opening his mouth to smile at her in an attempt to lighten the tense atmosphere, she regained her usual emotions. Go, I'll leave first. Yun Jian turned to tell Yun Yi before she walked out of the parterre. Okay. Yun Yi nodded. Yun Yi then thought of something and stopped Yun Jian. Xiao Jian, I won't object to where you guys are going, but I only have one request. You guys must go there safely and come back in one piece. Yun Yi's words tugged at Yun Jian's heartstrings. Yun Yi was not worried about anything else. He was only concerned about Yun Jian and the other's safety. This touched Yun Jian, so she looked at Yun Yi and nodded. Go, I promise you. No matter what happens in the future, I'll come back alive. Yun Yi did not ask her where she was going or what she was going to do. He never asked about it, but he was essentially the same as Chin-yiru. They only wanted Yun Jian to be safe. When Yun Jian came out of the parterre, Yi was leaning against the Lamborghini sports car with his back against it. He was leaning his legs against the short Lamborghini sports car leisurely. His tall and lean figure was handsome no matter how one looked at it. He watched as Yun Jian walked toward him. Why were you gone for so long? Yi asked softly when Yun Jian came to him, holding Yun Jian's hand as he spoke. I talked to Gu for a while. Yunjian smiled at Ce with her eyes crinkled. Now that she had both kinship and love, this was the life she had yearned for in her previous life. Ce did not probe further. He patted Yunjian's head softly with his large hand and pulled Yunjian into the car. Other than Ce and Yunjian, Xueying and Qingyu were also there. Xueying reluctantly left Si Luo at Qin Yura's house. Before he left, he reminded Si Luo that he would pick him up when he returned. He was afraid that Si Luo would stay at Qin Yura's house and refused to leave. Every international underground tea party was very dangerous. Even if the people who rushed to participate were not powerful secret agents or killers, they were still well-known figures in the world. Some minor assassins and secret agents would attend as well. Of course, these people did not have any status. Most of the time, they were directly ignored. When they arrived at the airport, Ce parked the Lamborghini at the management area, and the four of them boarded the plane to Country B. Every year, the tea party would be held in a country with the poorest economy in the world. War could break out in that kind of country at any time. Of course, if one had to ask why, it was because in a prosperous country, something unpleasant would always happen at the gathering of assassins and secret agents. When the time came, if someone killed someone, or if someone killed someone with a bomb or a cannon, no one would care in a poor country. This was exactly what they wanted. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.